Hello there. Welcome to Welly. And I wish you to please be happy. Hey there, everybody. How are you doing? How's the night been for everybody so far? Well, I'm a little tired, but we ended up not having much in the way of D&D today, but I just talked a little bit, and we talked about Dawn Trail in particular. Doing well so far. That's good to hear. Glad to see you here as always, Ro. I think I have a moderator here who is dawn trailing as we speak, but shh, don't tell anybody. We were talking about dawn trail a lot, and I was talking a little bit about what I would do differently, and also what I think are misconceptions that are a lot of people who criticize the MSQ probably have. So we were just talking about that. I mean, there's some very valid criticisms, but also there's a lot of things that are well, I guess if you had probably read the next line, you would have had your issues cleared up. But that's how it tends to be. I didn't even okay, I sent my friend last night a big old, thanks Stream Elements. I sent my friend last night a big old explanation of something I was writing and the magic system in it, right? Which I can explain to you guys if you'd like to hear at some point. But I'm surprised we didn't actually get any time to talk about that. We were just talking about Dawn Trail the whole time. I guess there's a lot to talk about in Dawn Trail, our conceptions of what it could have been, and the last zone in particular. Because Wu Clemot's archetype is a controversial one that I find with a lot of people, where that kind of female character that embraces a change towards community and family and friendly love. People think that's overdone or too cliche or poorly done. I have some criticisms of Luc Lamont, but I don't have that many. It didn't detract from my experience too much. I just have my own criticisms, but some people hate her archetype. And there were a lot of kind of shonen archetypes in particular that came up in this expansion. People, and now no, I hate shonen animes for the most part. I don't enjoy that. But a lot of people are even more critical of that genre than I am. I just poke fun at it. I think it's kind of funny, but some people seem absolutely offended by. Yeah, she has some. Yeah, absolutely. I think my biggest issue with the expansion really comes down to the people being stupid as a plot device, which is poor plot device. But yeah, that's just it. Hate Shaolin Stormlight, but enjoy Shaolin as a character. Yeah. I think that's by Brandon Sanderson, right? I should probably read some of what Brandon Sanderson has wrote. I think that would probably be a good idea. I've been watching a lot of videos from someone that Brandon Sanderson associates with a lot recently, and Brandon Sanderson's been on the channel sometimes too, talking about some of the writing that he's gone through. I haven't read anything of his, but I do respect him a lot. But that said, I respect a lot of authors a lot. I don't know. So I was surprised we had that much to talk about Dawn Trail today, of all things. But I'll have to hit you guys up with the magic system that I was talking about for oh, yours with the job. Yeah, job change is fucking garbage. But job changes are the writers. So, I don't know. Yeah, I enjoyed the story quite a lot too. And I have a Final Fantasy tier list. Maybe I should pull that up. Maybe pull up my tier list here. No, where is it? It should be in my history somewhere. I'll go find it. But yeah. It's I find that after I've completed the expansion, my like of it went down slightly, but I still very much enjoyed it. But I'm not that difficult to please, for the most part. I'll enjoy whatever dish you put in front of me for the most part. I can't believe in my history I say, what does Oni-chan mean? Okay, let's keep moving past that. Look, Ralph, okay? Some of us can't be super well versed in, Japanese language, okay? I don't know where it is, but I put Dawn Trail in the same tier roughly as FF10. Where it's kind of like splitting hairs how good it is. If that makes sense to you. Like, it's really hard for me to have them in the same tier as the thing above or below them. If that makes sense. As for Dawn Trail, it's like I can't put Dawn Trail in the same tier as Shadowbringers and Endwalker. As for FF10, I can't put FF10 in the same tier as FF6 and FF7, So that's how I put together my tier list so far. So I have like the splitting hairs tier, where I put all that garbage in. Okay, here it is. Let me pull it up for you real quick. Where are you? Okay, let me go ahead and capture this. There you go. You're not gotten a variant, so you don't get it. This is a tier list right now, as it is right this moment. Shadowbringers and Endwalker in the Ishikawa tier. FF10 I can't justify having in this tier. Dawn Trail I can't justify having in this tier, so they share a tier together. And that's how it goes. Even in the good tier, like, FF1 is worse than FF3. But FF1 has much more memorable moments, like, than FF3 does moment to moment. Because FF1 has that, like, survival factor to it that becomes kind of difficult. So, that's the tier list so far. I'm pretty confident 10 will stay there when I finish the game. And, like, 7 has a better through line than 6, but 6 has better gameplay than 7, Why ARR is great? Well, compare ARR to FF1. Compare ARR to FF3. Like, ARR as a whole has some terrible moments, but it also has some, like, amazing moments that trump anything in the FF1 and 3. The end of ARR is awesome. Everything from Shiva to Moonbrita. ARR and 5 the same. This is my enjoyment, though. This is a how much should I enjoy the game? And I enjoy 5 as much as I enjoyed ARR. Which probably means that ARR is, like, low, rather than saying 5 or 4 is high. Right? But 5 has my favorite customization in any Final Fantasy game. 4 is just good. Silly. Don't you call me silly. But I can't put ARR here. And I can't put Heaven's Ward and Stormblood here. And I can't put Dawn Trail here, so where does ARR go? You know? ARR is not better than FF7. So there you go. That's how I have to do it. Silly Tim. Thank you. I mean, at best I throw in a new tier here. But like, that's a lot of tiers for no good reason. This is already a splitting here. This is like the A+ tier. Are you saying I need a B+ tier? Yeah, I don't know. I think AR... I think the curve for the 14 expansions is fair, but like maybe ARR is like B+. Remove one of the lower ones. Well, I genuinely think 4 and 5 are in the same tier. If I put these in meh, I don't actually feel meh about them though. I like them. You know? Meh should be reserved for like, when I start doing triple triad in FF8. Or maybe, I don't know, FF2 goes here maybe, you know? But I haven't played them. I mean, I could just call it 14 and put 14 here. I kind of like 13. From what I've seen of 13, I kind of like it. So, you know, maybe I just have shit takes, but this is the best I can do. I mean, I could put a tier on a row above. This is the obligatory, and it goes there. But I don't want to do that. That's too many tiers. It doesn't look good. But just know that ARR is better than these two, but it's worse than everything else up here. There you go. And also, what I'm kind of doing here is, actually, it should be this way. The further to the right you are, the better you are. Guess it would be this way then. So within the same tier, the quality increases as you go to the right. Okay? So AR is the pinnacle of that tier. Heaven's Ward is the pinnacle of this tier. Dawn Trail. And Shadowbringers is the best one on the list. There you go. There's my bad takes for you. Alright, are you ready to be emotionally harmed? Because if you're ready, we can start emotionally harming each other. Let's see here.
Ugh, it's about time. I was getting bored.
It's about time. 78% completion. Can I get a recap? Okay. So this time, we told Juliet that, look, man, we don't love Aspen. And so Aspen went out to visit her family. You think one of the main yeah. So Aspen went out to visit her family, and her bus broke down on the way back. And so because we didn't love her, we didn't go chasing her down or anything. We waited for her to come to us. And 24 hours passed, And Aspen forgot about us. And so we had to restart our friendship, essentially. And then, and we essentially lost everything with her. She had feelings for us and she no longer does. And then Juliet, and we feel guilty because we were going to let her down, but now we're depriving her of the chance to even be rejected. You know, she doesn't even have the agency to be rejected by us before she's lost everything of us. And so then Juliet's like, I want to return to the underworld and leave everybody here. Because, and really it kind of sounds like Juliet's running away from her problems and running away from her pain. But she doesn't want to see us and Aspen die at some point. She'd rather go back to the underworld and avoid the pain of death. So, or the pain of the death of everybody that she cares about. So now we have to try to find a way to convince Juliet not to go back down to the underworld. So basically, by not being in love with Aspen, we've hit the fucking hell timeline. And this is the worst that it could possibly be. Later that evening, sitting up in the bedroom, I'd take a spot on the windowsill again and look out.
I wonder if those kids found something to write about.
We get students visiting the library all the time, but never met any others who came from so far away like Cello and her friends. I wonder what it must be like to go on a big adventure like that with the people you care about. I bet it would make traveling more fun to have someone to talk to. Oh, and also last time we also had the scene where Miho realizes her person is dead. So basically, oh, and last time we had the scene where Juliet talks about Cosette and how she took up a daughter and her daughter died. And it hurts because she's immortal. So like last time was just non-stop pain that we were here. It was like 5 hours of just hell world. Alright. It'd be nice if I was able to do that. I like being here in Welly, but I know that someday I'll have the urge to journey again and see more of the world. I'd love to show Juliet some of the places I've been. She's helped me make Wellington my home, so I'd like to show her where I came from. What made me who I am. You're gonna go watch the VOD? Yeah, all the VODs so far for Juliet should be up on the YouTube. Big thumbs up. Not all of them are up for FF10. The last one I have to split into because we played the personality test game, then we went to FF10, so it's in development hell right now with YouTube. But yeah, it'll be up soon. That's part of why I have such mixed feelings about what she told me yesterday. Even if she did go back to the underworld, it isn't like I'd never be able to see her again. It would just be a lot less often. We've seen each other a bit today, but haven't really talked much since breakfast. I'd like to spend some time with her though, especially if I may not have many more chances to do that. Oh no. I slip on my shoes and head down to her study, where there's a flicker of lamplight from under the door. I knock 3 times, just like she always does.
Come in.
I open the door to find her at her desk, a pen in her hand. Of course, she smiles when she sees me.
Good evening, Miho. What brings you here?
Not much. I just wanted to come see you. Are you busy?
Not at all. Would you like to sit?
Yeah, sure.
She sets her pen aside and puts some papers into the drawer as I sit down across from her. They probably come from one of her research projects. In my head, that's the main thing she uses this room for.
Would you like some tea?
Nah, I'm good. Thanks.
I'll take the tea, Juliet. Just, 1 cup for me, 1 cup for you, no cups for her. She prepares a cup for herself as we sit there quietly. And as we sit there quietly, I realize that I don't actually have a plan for how to hang out together. It feels easier to talk to Aspen a lot of the time, mostly because she likes to tease me or has things to complain about. When I'm with Juliet, we talk less, which I don't mind myself. It's not that I don't like talking with her, of course, but more like I don't always have something to say. Aspen has her writing in the Bell House, whereas Juliet just has the library and the past. A scratching noise in the corner gets my attention. I look over to see a couple bats hanging from one of the rafters. Juliet follows my eyes, gazing fondly at the creatures.
Jasper and Fiddlesticks found it a little cold for their liking, so they've been warming themselves inside for a while.
So you have Jasper, Fiddlesticks, and Orpheus? It's like two halflings and a gith walk into a bar. Mentally, I thank the bats for giving us something to chat about.
How'd you come up with their names?
I call them after characters from books or acquaintances I once knew for the most part. The names are more for me than for them.
Do they answer to them?
Oftentimes, yes. Although, I'm sure it's also a convenience for my sake.
Makes sense. Words are hard when you're just an animal.
Same, Miko, same.
Back with my person, I could understand anything they said to me. Just the way they said it. It took a long time as a Gumiho before I learned enough words to understand.
Let's turn this up slightly in my own ears. There we go.
Before that, they were just sounds I'd memorized.
I imagine it's like that for Fiddlesticks and the others. Just sounds that they can recognize. That's all language really is, though.
One of the bats flaps its wings, adjusting itself but remaining hooked to the ceiling.
Do you ever talk to them as a bat?
No, though I'm sure they can sense that part of me. I imagine it's why they chose the library as their roost. Cosette used to call them pets. They've always been wild. Still, she was the one who first began naming them.
Whoa! They've been coming here for that long?
Not the same bats, mind you. Once
Gonna
Cosette
say,
are long gone. Jasper, Fiddlesticks, and the others are from many generations later. I'm glad that somehow they had knowledge of this place passed down to them.
Just like the people.
Yes, just like them.
History, generations, family. It never really dawned on me how Juliet's built her entire life around these ideas. Hearing about her research of people is one thing, but it doesn't stop there. Even the bats have a legacy, and Juliet's been there for all of it. When I think about it that way, I feel like I can start to understand her reasons for wanting to leave, how much there is for her to miss. But also, her words give me an idea. I may struggle with saying things sometimes, but maybe we don't have to use words to have fun.
Hey, do you want to go somewhere?
I don't mind, but what did you have in mind?
I was thinking maybe we could go for a walk. Since we're not always awake at the same time like this, I wanted to spend some time with you.
Juliet blinks several times, something I have seen Aspen do when she's surprised, before settling into her usual calm warmth.
I'd like that very much. But isn't it late for you?
Hey, I'll become nocturnal for you, Juliet.
It's fine. I'm not that tired. Besides, you're always staying up to talk with me, so it's only fair.
I see. I certainly can't say no to that. Give me just a moment to get ready, and I'll meet you outside.
Okay.
I go downstairs and wait, leaning against the front porch. Is she gonna try to seduce her? I may not be able to show her the places I want to, but I can show her one of my favorite things instead. Juliet joins me after a minute, and I lead us off.
It's been a while since we've gone on a walk like this, hasn't it?
If it was my self-insert character, that favorite thing would be seducing.
Yeah. When we delivered some papers, right? I just started staying at the library last time.
And now here you are, leading the way. Are we going to Mount Victoria by chance?
Yup. Is that okay?
Yep.
Of course. It's been quite some time since I've been there either.
Was the last time when you came to my den?
Indeed it was. You've gone back a few times though, correct?
Yeah. It's one of my favorite spots.
I leave out the part about going back to my den in particular, since it involves silver.
Actually, there were these kids who came into the library today. One of them asked me some questions like what my favorite place in Wellington is. They're doing a school project, so they'll probably come back again.
My favorite part of Wellington is the beef.
That's lovely. You've become a Wellington expert.
I don't know about that. I told them you and Aspen would probably be more helpful. They came all the way from another country.
I see Ralph in the bottom right popping up as playing Elden Ring.
Oh, how nice. I'd be happy to assist if they do return.
Cool! I'm sure they'd like that.
Streetlights illuminate the way for us, although neither of us would really have trouble seeing in the dark. We don't see any other pedestrians, and the cars that pass by are few and far between. We reach the mountain, and I guide us off the trail and into the brush, although I take a different direction than usual. I'm not looking for Silver this time, although I wouldn't be surprised if she's observing silently close by. After a little bit of walking, I find an area that fits what I was hoping for, open and away from the path. Let's play with the Aspen route or Elden Ring. Oh, you're gonna choose either to play Aspen's route right now or Elden Ring? Is the Aspen route just to recover from that horrific depression that was, like, last stream? When I stop, Juliet looks around, understandably confused.
What is this
Aspen's
place?
Ring. Hey, Aspen's Ring is the goal of the game. Get a rock on that finger, you know?
Just an open area. I've never been here before. Seeing the bats in your office gave me an idea, though.
And what might that be?
I just want to go for a walk, like I said. Except not in these
Aw.
forms, but our other ones. I know we just came all the way here, but you said you don't spend much time as a bat, right? I haven't been spending a whole lot of time as a fox lately either, but it's something I like to do. So, maybe...
Oh, remember earlier when she's like, some people say foxes are like bats. I trail off, a little nervous. Or sorry, bats are like foxes. A little nervous. Maybe I should have told Juliet my idea before making her come all the way out here, in case she doesn't want to. To my relief, though, her face lights up the night.
I'd love to.
Okay, cool.
We all love pleasing our vampire MILF girlfriend. I can't help but grin in response. Then I close my eyes, focusing on my bead and tapping into my magic. When I transformed a couple nights ago to track Silver, it felt a little stiff and unfamiliar. I'm not gonna make a comment, because it was my first time doing it in a while. Now it feels natural again. I open my fox eyes and spread my tails, looking up at Juliet, who hasn't changed yet. She regards me curiously. Now that I think about it, she's never seen me like this before. Whatever she might be thinking, though, she keeps to herself. Instead, she closes her eyes like I did and lifts her arms to her sides. I bet Juliet was like, I want to pet her. Her limbs shrink like mine before expanding back out into the shape of wings as she becomes a bat. She gives them a few shaky flaps, fighting to keep herself in the air. It takes a few oh my god! It takes a few more flaps, but then she gets the hang of it quickly, coasting in a circle over my head at an even pace. Once I'm sure she's ready, I turn tail and start to run. This is amazing. I love this. Why does she look so cute as a fox? There's an unused form in their human forms in the gallery. Really? Also, welcome on in, IRG Pie. Does Fox Miho get the zoomies? I hope she does. Even Juliet's got a little bat smile on her face. It's probably not accurate, but you know what? They threw it in there. I think we're about to get an ad in a second here. The cool night breeze rushes across my fur. Beneath my feet, the earth is soft and damp and perfect for running on. I turn my head to the side to get a glimpse of Juliet. Her eyes are focused straight ahead, and she glides through the air like a knife through butter. Wait, what? What's the boss that says... Oh, it's Yasmat, who says, like a knife through butter. She follows me effortlessly as I run up and down hills and through a field. Being able to let loose and just run like this is something I've missed doing. I push myself to go even faster, challenging Juliet to keep up. With a few powerful wing strokes, she manages to stay above me, close enough that I can feel the gust of air with each flap. For someone who hasn't done this in a while, she sure seems to be in pretty good shape. Since I don't have any particular destination in mind, I just lead us wherever seems greenest and most open. Above us, the stars twinkle merrily as they watch. Suddenly, from the trees in the direction we both came from, there's the sound of more wings flapping. Juliet and I both turn to see a small flock of other bats coming to join us. Unlike her, I'm pretty sure these are just regular bats, but they dash and dart around us, foaming around like they were supposed to meet us here. I can't tell what Juliet's thinking, but I hope she's having as much fun as they are, and as I am. At the very least, it's something new for her that has to count for something. Oh, that was very adorable. We really do love our MILF vampire mommy girlfriend. I run and run until... Actually, I need some water. 1 second. Water. I need y'all to make sure to keep up the hydration even if you're Elden Ringing right now. There we go. There we go, water achieved. I run and run until I've just about worn myself... Oh, thank you for the stretch. Okay. I run and run until I've just about worn myself out. As my pace slows down, so does Juliet, until I'm only moving at a slow trot. Juliet has to flap her wings more to stay close, turning circles like the other bats accompanying us. Hey there, Kimmy, how you doing? Oh, thank you for dropping some emotes on my head. Finally, once I reach a flat, grassy area, I come to a halt. I transform back into a person and flop down onto my back, looking up at the sky and Juliet.
Alright, I'm beat!
Never mind. Juliet comes closer to the ground, then changes forms herself. The bats who are with us squeak and disperse, fluttering off in all directions. I wasn't going to say anything about making her, you know, making her more tired. Don't worry about it. Go ahead. No, don't worry about it. I wave goodbye to them while Juliet watches them go. Then she takes a seat on the ground beside me.
My, I haven't had a workout like that in years.
It's not the last time you'll say that. She fans herself with one hand. It's the first time I've ever seen her look worn out.
It's been a bit for me too. You did pretty good though. I was afraid I might leave you behind by accident.
Working the hag? Are you saying Juliet is a hag? Am I a hag too?
I certainly had to push myself at times. I'm impressed by you as well. It's much more strenuous to run that far compared to flying.
Nah, I'm pretty used to it. Didn't think we'd have company though.
Nor did I. It was nice to have them join us.
That's the most disgustingly Zoomer thing I've ever seen you say. Hag-pilled vamp maxer. That's disgustingly Zoomer. I feel dirty just having read that. Wiping the sweat from her brow, Juliet gazes up at the stars, looking content.
Thank you, Miho. That was quite nice.
Glad you had fun. Wasn't sure if you would or not.
It's not the kind of thing I'd have ever done by myself, I'll admit. But I'm glad you brought me out here.
Hearing Juliet's words, and more importantly, being able to see her face how much she means them, makes me feel good. Even without many words between us. Rolling over onto my belly, I push myself up and stand.
You must be worn out. Shall we head back to the library?
Yeah, I'm ready if you are. I'll sleep good tonight, that's for sure.
Juliet laughs.
I'll start breakfast a little later in the morning then.
You just hit me on the head with your bottom fingers, Ralph. How dare you? I reach out a hand to help her get to her feet. At first, Juliet just stares, like she's not sure what she's supposed to do. Then she grabs it and I pull her up.
Wanna do this again sometime? We don't have to transform, but I wanna see your favorite places too.
Yeah, I've used that line before, don't worry.
I would love to. Yes, it's a promise.
That's our Juliet. Looking up at her, her honest, gentle smile illuminated by the moonlight. I want her to stay. I have to give her a good reason to stay. Oh, we got some Mr. Kim tonight. Here we go. As evening rolls around, I walk down to the waterfront for a special treat. Both days so far that I've checked in with Mr. Kim, he's been enjoying some kind of delicious-looking meal that his wife prepared. When I mentioned of how I often miss Korean food, he promised to treat me to dinner tonight. You know, Mr. Kim is a good guy. Big thumbs up. Treating your little fox fishing friend to Korean. Most of the times that I've gone to the fishing spot, it was with food out on my mind. I wouldn't have expected this to be the first meal I actually get out of it. I've only gone to a Korean restaurant once in person, and it was on a date. It was on a date with someone who is Chinese, and she was speaking in Chinese in the Korean restaurant, and we were getting looks from other people on our date. But I don't know. It was funny. I loved it. Miho is this little pog. Is that how you want me to flirt? Where's Lana? Let me call him my little pog champ. I want to see what happens. The pier is mostly empty when I get there, aside from Mr. Kim himself. He waves merrily as I approach.
Oh, Miho! 안녕!
안녕하세요. Being greeted in Korean surprises me, and it takes a second to respond properly.
안녕하세요.
Good accent. I'm more than a little rusty when it comes to speaking Korean, but I think I managed to sound okay. Still, using the common language is a lot easier at this point. Hey, her 안녕하세요 is better than I've heard some people say, okay?
Glad you could join me. I've brought us a feast.
I bet Pi down there is like getting ready to say something about Vina Koreaboo or whatever. We're already working on the Weeba Vina arc. What else do we need? Sure enough, he has a few bags full of plastic containers sitting by his chair.
Ooh, thanks. I've been looking forward to this for hours.
Me too. There's nothing like a home-cooked meal to wrap up the day. Go ahead and have a seat.
He gestures to another chair, as well as a small folding table with a cloth draped over it.
Don't mind if I do.
A Miho can't say no to food. Mr. Kim hands me a plate and a small bowl and then starts stacking the food on the table. I watch as he lifts box after box from the bags. I'm reminded a little bit of Juliet back when I first got here. Although Mr. Kim accepted my explanation about my magic pretty easily, it's still awfully generous of him to do all this for my sake. Yeah, it's interesting that Juliet and Kim have some parallels, and those are the two people that I am like trying to focus this playthrough. Definitely not complaining though. I can see kimchi and rice, plus a couple other things that I don't recognize or don't remember the names of.
This all looks delicious. Thanks for bringing it.
Kimchi is the name of my friend's dog.
I'll tell my wife. She's the one who did the cooking, and she says she hopes that it reminds you of home. When was the last time you visited Korea?
It's been a really long time. I don't even know how many years.
No family back there?
Nah, I don't have any. I didn't have any friends until I came to Wellington either.
Ah, of course. But you do now, at least. We may go at different speeds, but eventually we all end up where we're meant to be.
Oh, Mr. Kim is so positive, man.
Yeah.
We all go
I
at different
never tried that
speeds.
hard before either. Now that I have a phone and stuff, it's a lot easier.
Well, here's to new old friends then.
Hitler Kim here. He pours 2 cups of cold barley tea and hands me one. Then he retrieves an even bigger thermos and carefully fills 2 bowls with its contents. The aroma of chicken and garlic hits my nose the moment he takes off the lid. It's been years since I've had it, but I still recognize that smell immediately.
Is that samgyetang?
Ooh.
It sure is. The nose knows, doesn't it?
Mr. Kim is based off a nice old guy. Really? Well, I mean, that kind of sounds like it would be the case, yeah. I'm sure there's some people that I've randomly met that I have taken inspiration of my own writing before. I can think of like one person in particular who is just a cashier at like a college restaurant thing. But she was very nice to me. Oh, and the RuneScape guy is based the sandwich lady off an actual sandwich lady who was trying to sell sandwiches outside of their shop or whatever. Or outside of their like development studio. And was like an absolute dick to them. Samgyetang.
I don't know when the last time I had this was.
Let me look up Samgyetang a little bit here. Samgyetang. It's some... Oh yeah, okay, I know what that is. Samgyetang, or ginseng chicken soup. That's what you first thought of the sandwich lady? Yeah. Choose your path, sandwich lady or Mr. Kim. Yeah. You either... you either grow old enough to become the sandwich lady, or are wise enough to become Mr. Kim. Soup is made from boiling a chicken with... right here, I'm like going to look up the recipe and they tell it to me on the next goddamn thing. The soup is made from boiling a chicken with ginseng, and there's a sticky rice stuffed into the chicken. The last time I was in Korea, it was a special occasion whenever I was able to enjoy a bowl. It was a lot harder to steal compared to solid foods, so the only times I could have it were when I actually spent money to buy some. Modern-day Korea is very different from the Korea that I come from, but I still have some good memories from my time there. Finally, after pouring the soup, Mr. Kim hands me a spoon and a pair of chopsticks.
Let's dig in.
Whoops. I have to carefully arrange all my dishes on a table and on my lap to make everything fit. He pops the tops of various sides and serves me a bit of each. It's been a long time since I've used chopsticks either, but my hands remembered how to hold them. Great, because my hands don't. All the food tastes even better than it looks, and it looks pretty good to begin with. From the spicy tongue of the kimchi, or tang of the kimchi, not tongue, but the tongue is a word. Never mind. From the spicy tang of the kimchi to the rice broth of the soup, everything is amazing. The barley tea is the perfect addition to wash everything down. The accent, look. We were just talking about samgyetang, and they have tang here.
Go ahead and eat up. I can always have more at home.
Cancel me. He leaves most of the food for me, only nibbling on a few things. When all the containers are finally empty, I dig my chopsticks around to scrape up the last few bits and pieces.
That was so good. Thanks again.
Of course, of course. It's always a pleasure to share dinner with a friend.
Do you ever eat the fish that you catch?
Sometimes. Or sometimes I'll go purchase some from the market. Next time, I'll have to bring you some meontang.
Yeah, see, just like samgyetang and meontang, the tang bit here is, it's an ending that means something, and I got it confused with tang.
Yes, please.
Mr. Kim chuckles and slaps his knees and stands up. Vina wants Juliet to nibble on. Look, that is completely unrelated to Mr. Kim.
Well, it's about time for me
Excuse
to
me?
be heading home. Thanks for the company.
Thanks for the meal.
I help Mr. Kim bag up all the empty containers. He loads those into a basket on a bicycle and then, with one last wave, sets off on his ride. For a little bit longer, I stay on the pier and admire the sea, enjoying how pleasantly full I am. Then I start walking home as well. I'm never gonna get over the tongue. When evening rolls around again, I drift to Juliet's study once again. The author used again twice in the same sentence. The door is open, and I can see her sitting at her desk inside.
Knock knock.
Come in.
I take a seat across from her. I've started to think of it as my seat.
How was your day today?
It was fine. Not too much happened. Do you want to hang out again?
I like the density of Juliet scenes right now.
Come to have me make good on my promise already.
Only if you want to. It's fine if you're busy.
I'm never too busy to spend time with you.
Ooh.
Great! Remember, it's your turn to pick where we go this time.
Right. Give me just a moment to prepare, and then we'll be off.
Juliet is just like such a loving person. It's like, it's so hard not to, that's your line, Juliet? Exactly. It's so hard not to be, not enraptured. What's the word I'm looking for? Not besotted. You know what I mean. To be swept up in her. We come to a stop near the ocean, just the two of us. Lights from the city shine behind us and out on the water. A handful of others glitter from faraway shops. Is it Christmas? The tide comes in and out, but we stand just outside its reach. Everything is quiet, aside from the soft splashing of the water lapping at our feet. The crisp night air carries a trace of salt. Side by side, Juliet and I both gaze out at the open sea.
It's beautiful.
Juliet nods. During the day, this beach is full of people laughing and playing or relaxing in the sun. This late, however, there's only a few others around, barely more than shadows against the sea.
So this is your favorite place?
I've had the police called on me, by the way, for, like 5 of us, like me and like 4 friends, all hanging out on the beach in the middle of the night. So... Keeping our eyes fixed on the distant horizon, Juliet hesitates before answering.
One of them, yes. I'm not sure that I could choose one above all others. I've always loved the ocean, though. I find it calming and serene. Did you know that there are no oceans in the underworld?
Really? No, I didn't know that.
It's true. There are lakes and rivers, but nothing like the sea. I never even witnessed it as a human.
The more she talks about the underworld, the more it's clear that she doesn't want to go there.
When I heard stories, I thought that surely they were exaggerated. Imagine my surprise when I saw it for myself.
Whoa.
I think back to the first time I saw the sea, when I followed Zhang trail all the way to its end.
I didn't even know it existed until I saw it. And when I did, I thought it was just a really big lake.
I guess it is a really big lake.
You must have been just as surprised as I was.
Mm-hmm. I got on the boat and it took me to China. Not that I knew that. I didn't even know what Korea was, or that I loved it.
I'm sure it didn't take you long, though. You learned very fast.
Only sometimes. There's some stuff that I learned really slowly.
As do we all. As do we all.
The second time she says it, her voice is softer, almost as if she didn't mean to speak aloud. They stand together in silence again for a couple minutes.
I used to come here all the time, just to stand and watch the waves. They're calming, I think.
Yeah. It makes me feel really small. Since no matter what, the ocean stays the same, you know? It doesn't care about us, or about our lives. It just is.
Juliet nods.
Precisely. I couldn't have said it better.
Turn down the sound effect volume a little bit here.
Did you come here by yourself?
Sometimes. Not always. Cosette loved the ocean too, of course.
Mhm.
When she was young, she used to say that she wanted to be the captain of a ship and sail all around the world and see all there was to see.
Did she ever do it?
Cosette found the One Piece.
No. The first time she set foot on a boat, she got terribly seasick and never boarded one again.
Just kidding, I lied.
We would go to the beach often, though. This one or others. Even if she couldn't live that dream of hers. She never stopped loving the idea. After she passed away, I would return here on my own nearly every night. Sleep was impossible. But I could gain some measure of peace and rest just by watching the tide. Its constant, reliable motion was something I could hold on to. It ebbs and flows, just like life itself.
I glance up at Juliet, half expecting to see tears in her eyes, but there aren't any. Her voice is strong and stable too, not trembling like she's going to cry. She looks down, meeting my gaze, and smiles. For a long moment, neither of us look away. It's like that moment in the library, when I felt we were seeing each other for the first time. As we look into each other's eyes, I feel my heart start to beat faster. Even after she peers back out into the water, I feel electrified. Something has a swirl inside me, and it takes shape that I'm starting to understand.
I spent so long in misery and grief that I began to forget it was possible to exist without them. Everything was a painful reminder of what I'd lost, in days that would never come again. And yet, I find that the ocean is still beautiful. Even now, it's more beautiful when beside someone special. Impossibly, unchangingly so. As you said, in the face of such vastness, our petty little lives feel so tiny and insignificant. Years of pain that may feel eternal are really only drops in such a big, big bucket. I think that's what helped me to find some measure of solace and strength to go on.
It's almost a positive naivety in that sense. Like, when you look at something so large, you think that your problems are, in a way, smaller. But it's not about diminishing your problems, though. It's about realizing that they're only a part of the tapestry of your life, only a small part of them. And I think that's what she's hinting at in terms of that, like I said, positive naivety. So it's not all that we are. The grief isn't everything she is, but it's just a part of her story.
I'm glad you did.
And by seeing it, she knows that she has the strength to not let it overwhelm her.
Me too.
Up in the sky, the blinking lights of a satellite or airship are another reminder of how life goes on around us. They look just like the stars. Standing here next to Juliet, I feel the same kind of quiet warmth that I did last night after our run together. Something from inside myself that feels good and strong and right. The trials and pains that we've been through are very different in nature, but I'm glad that they brought us to the same spot. Beside me, Juliet takes a couple steps forward, a smile back on her face.
Would you care to walk a little?
Sure.
We move slowly, following the shoreline close enough together that I keep bumping into her. The sand makes it hard to walk straight. That's okay, we're not straight here. Juliet doesn't seem to mind, though, and for some reason, every time it happens, I feel a little spark of excitement inside. To me, that's like the epitome of like the like playful. It's not philia, is it? It's not eros, but that like that's the epitome of that playful love. Is that like when you're so early in the like budding of those feelings that like even the little touches and everything are like cause to like laugh and smile. The tide sloshes in a little bit higher, enough to sweep against our shoes, but we keep going. Shells and seaweed decorate the beach, and I take care not to step on anything that might break. We walk until we reach the far end of the beach, where a few stacked boulders and a pathway lead back into town. And, you know, you're also saying that you're taking inspiration from it. Yeah, well, I'm taking a little inspiration from that moment that we just described. The bumping into each other. And I'm keeping that. Ludus, that's what it is. Thank you. Keeping that in the back of my mind right now. The boulders are worn down by the waves that sometimes reach here, and the grass path stops abruptly just before it. I notice something in the dark, though. A little green sprout peeking up from the ground, beyond where the rest of the plants dare grow. Juliet and I stop walking, but my heart continues to pound with a dull thud as that swirling something, that electrified feeling, makes me realize what it is. Not just realize, but admit to myself. The name of that spark, that feeling, the reason it feels good to stand next to her, to bump into her, to make her smile.
Hey, Juliet?
Do you know why she's having this epiphany right now? Because she's seeing a plant in bloom, and earlier in the story, Juliet tells her that love is like a flower that you water to make bloom. Somehow, I don't feel nervous, not like Aspen was, because now that I understand, saying this to Juliet just feels right. Just a step or two ahead of me, Juliet turns around to face me. The moon shines down like a spotlight, illuminating her in the darkness. Her expression is unreadable, and I wonder if she
I
knows.
think I'm in love with you.
Ah. A small wave crests, smashing against the shore. It splashes my legs, and I don't mind. I barely notice. I consider saying more, about how I remember her words that day when Aspen told me her own feelings, or about how I feel when I'm with her. For once there's a lot I could say, but I choose not to. I've said all I needed. With Juliet, so much has always been unspoken that I'm confident she can understand me now. Right now, her eyes go wide, but otherwise, she remains unchanged. I wait. Now that I've said that, I don't know what I hope she'll say. Thinking about myself as the kind of person who could be in love still feels weird, but also feels true. Whatever else that might include, and whatever Juliet might feel about me, that's a whole other issue. So is everything else between us, like whether or not she'll be leaving. No matter if she stays or goes, no matter if she feels the same way I do, none of that's important right now. Right now, I'm just glad to be able to put a name to these feelings. Finally, Juliet takes a step forward and places a hand on my shoulder. She's touched me lots of times before, but this time, I'm hyper aware of her presence.
Thank you for telling me, Miho. I must confess that I don't know what to say. My thoughts are all aflutter right now.
You ever seen a Juliet blush? It's a rare thing, but there you go.
It's okay. You don't have to say anything.
Fuck the ads.
I just wanted you to know.
Okay, hold on. Let me take a sip of water just to combat the ads here. I found it very, very, like, beautifully written that she's mirroring that scene in such a subtle way, too. It's not a heavily foreshadowed, it's not brought up as like a centerpiece. It is something that you would hardly notice unless you're paying attention, but if you pay attention, it's a beautiful foreshadowing.
But you deserve a response. I simply don't know how to give it at the moment. Would it be okay if we talked about this more tomorrow?
Of course, Juliet. For the first time ever, Juliet seems truly at a loss for words. At Cosette's grave, or when I yelled at her afterwards, or any time after something has happened, she always managed to regain her composure. But now she seems lost. Honestly, I think I prefer it that way. I reach up and place my hand on hers.
Yeah, that's fine. Really.
Thank you.
Juliet's hand lingers on my shoulder for a moment longer before sliding out from beneath mine, and I miss it as soon as it's gone.
Wanna go back to the library?
She nods, seemingly relieved. We climb the small slope up the road and begin walking back together, side by side like before. I keep my gaze firmly fixed ahead of me, and I'm pretty sure she does too. Both of us keep our thoughts to ourselves. My heart turns somersaults as we go, filling me with nervous energy like an outlet. Now that I've said them, the enormity of my words, and just what they mean for me, has begun to sink in. Juliet's kindness and compassion, the memories we've already made together, and the way that she understands me in a way that only other fabled can. All these things have been pointing in this direction for some time. It's just that I only now figured out where that road was leading. When we get back to the library, we wordlessly hug each other before going our separate ways. In my bed, I lie awake and stare at the ceiling.
I'm in love.
I know what I sound like when I'm lying, and it's not how I sound now. My feelings are real and true, and now they're out there. Tomorrow feels so far away, and yet I don't know what I'm waiting for. What would it mean if Juliet loves me too? What would it mean if she doesn't? I'm still figuring out what it means for me to be in love myself. I haven't gotten to the other parts yet. As I close my eyes, though, thinking about her hand beneath mine and that feeling of her arms around me, I can't help but think I'm maybe hoping for more than I could admit. Damn, that's it? Alright. We're just going straight into Lena. Okay. Only a few days after I agreed to be in the play with Lena and Cyrus, it's time for the first rehearsal. Even though I'm not going to be as involved in it as they are, I still want to see what everything is like. I head to the park and find the area that's been set up to practice. When I get there, I find a bunch of people waiting, more than at any of the other activities I've tried with Lena. Most of them are reading through thick packets of paper, standing alone or in small groups. Lena's one of the people on her own, until I go and join her.
Hey, Miho! Ready to be a tree?
I love
Ready as
Lena.
I'll ever be. What about you? Are you nervous?
Me? Nervous? No way!
So that only happens when it comes to Cyrus, huh?
Maybe just a little. That's different, though. Hey, you should go find him and get a copy of the script, too.
Whoever thought Sela could be this cute. It isn't hard to locate Cyrus. He's surrounded by a few boxes of props, snacks, and other supplies. Like Lena promised, or maybe threatened, he's been included in our check-in calls to make sure he remembers me. He nods when he sees me approaching. You know what I just realized? The last time that we played Star Rail, speaking of Lena's voice actor, I'm pretty sure we were like 5 minutes away from the final boss of Belobog. But I just haven't played it in like a week and a half. Whoops.
Oh, it's my favorite tree.
Hey! Lena said I should get a copy of the script.
That's a pretty good idea. Let me find yours.
He digs through a bunch of copies of the script till he finds one with my name on it.
Here you go. I marked all the parts where you'll be on stage.
I flip through the pages. A few sections are circled in red pen. I'm glad he did that, because it would take me a long time to read through the whole thing on my own.
Feel free to relax for today. We'll do some dry reads and not much else.
Okay, I can do that.
I wander back to Lena, who's boldly speaking to Noah.
But Mother, today is my birthday. It's not necessary to...
She stops, SMHing her head.
Maybe a bit more whiny. Oh, Miho! Tell me which one you think sounds better.
She repeats the line she was just practicing twice. Just like when she made me a drink to complete with Aspen, I have a hard time telling the difference.
The second one.
Okay, I thought so too. In ballet, you don't have to worry about talking or sounding good. This is harder than I thought.
Have you done the ballet version before?
Nah, but I've seen others perform it a million times. I'm sure I'd end up doing it someday if I'd stuck with ballet.
Why'd you quit? I never really got the chance to ask before.
I forgot I can just use the enter key. Lena looks off into the distance, seeming unusually serious. Her wings sag and she bites her lip.
It's kind of complicated. Mostly because my parents really wanted me to do it. Like, really wanted. Ballet or dancing or anything like that.
One of the notes from Laid Back In. That sounds like it would be pretty similar. In Star Rail, she plays Sela, who's like very serious and like almost vindictive, but she still has this kind of voice tone that's like very recognizable as Lena. So it's a little bit of a it's a little bit of a weird juxtaposition.
But I'm just like, hello? Can you get any more cliche than a swan girl doing ballet? Or any of that stuff? It's one of the reasons I wasn't sure about saying yes to Cyrus.
I don't get it. What's so bad about that?
They're always like, do this, do that, it's tradition, it's expected, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to live my life like that, you know? I want to do my own thing.
Yeah, the VAs in this game are quite impressive. Even if some of them might have microphone issues or mixing issues, the actual delivery of the lines in this game is really great. Except for, what, the kid that sounds like a Monty Python character?
So you quit ballet because you don't like it?
I do like ballet, and I'm good at it too. But if I kept doing it,
Hmm.
it wouldn't be for myself. Does that make sense?
I think so.
It reminds me of some of the conversations I've had with Aspen and Juliet, where they encourage me to do things for myself. Lena's in the same situation, but from a different angle.
Anyway, now that I've said yes to doing this, I'll do my best. I've got to be the best actor in the whole performance.
That sounds more like the Lena I know. I let her practice her lines to me, sometimes saying the lines for other characters if she asks for it. Eventually, Cyrus calls up everyone together to do some parts as a group. I sit on the sidelines and watch. Both Lena and Cyrus give it their all, just as Lena promised. Some of the other actors sound a little bored or unsure of themselves, but those two don't have any issues. You want to pet Lena's ass wings? Yeah, they're kind of cool. I want to like fluff up her little head thingies. Little side bang thing, sideburn, whatever they are. After a while, Cyrus calls an end to the rehearsal. We all go our separate ways until next time. My paws carry me across wet leaves and mud. Fog has crept into the forest as stealthily as me. Glimpses of the sky are rare between the trees and the mist. The wild mountains and hills are hidden as well. Out of sight but not mind. I run, filled by a sense of purpose. It lightens my steps and pulls me in the right direction. I'm going to see someone I care about very much, and who cares about me. Somehow, we found each other. My person. The path to follow is engraved in my body and mind, almost instinctual. A warm smile, a gentle touch, a kind word. These are the things that draw me forward. I slow down as I get closer to my destination and to the silhouette waiting for me. It's impossibly bright as I approach, my heart pounding in anticipation, like the sun has descended to greet my person too. It matches the feeling in my chest, warming my soul and fur. It's so bright that when my person turns around, stooping low to greet me, light is all I can see. But I don't need to see, only hear. That voice I could never forget.
Little fox, where is your home?
I open my eyes to my darkened bedroom. My nap must have lasted a couple hours, longer than I expected it to. The moon and stars are already out. Oh, just like Dagothar is flirting with the Nerevarine, the moon and stars. I can barely remember what I did for the rest of my day before I took my nap. Breakfast with Juliet was quiet. We didn't talk about last night. I'm sure she'll bring it up when she's ready. After a quick check-in with Aspen on the phone, I went through work like a zombie, mindlessly making my way through my tasks. After closing up, I'd planned to just catch a quick snooze, but the late nights and exercise I've been getting finally caught up to me. The last few seconds of my dream replay in my mind while I lie in my bed, facing the wall. That touch, that voice. I can't say for sure whose they were. As I come to my senses, I start to notice something out of the ordinary. A sound drifting up from downstairs. Music. Rolling out of bed, I go and crack my door open. Sure enough, the sounds of a violin and piano waft their way up from the library. There's another sound, too. Juliet talking to someone. Her words are muffled by the distance in the music, but I can tell from the soft tones that it's her. I wonder if the other vampire, Ezekiel, is here. I don't hear a second voice, though. I draw in a shaky breath to prepare myself and then head downstairs. The music gets louder as I approach the main room, until I finally discover its source. Juliet set up an old record player on one of the library tables. A small stack of dusty records sits next to it, the sleeves all frayed around the edges. As I round the corner, the soft murmur of Juliet's words becomes coherent, and I pause for a moment to listen, still out of sight.
Both of them. You and Aspen would make great friends, I'm sure.
Oh, she's talking to Cosette.
The two of you have always been such dreamers, born for worlds greater
I mean,
than our own.
the idea of her. Or like the painting.
She's at the start of her own new adventure. I can't wait to see where it takes her. Whatever it takes to make those dreams come true. I know she'll find it within herself.
I start to tiptoe around the corner, curious to see who it is Juliet's speaking with.
And as for Miho,
I freeze again, halfway there.
there's simply too much to say about her. I wouldn't even know where to begin. But there is one thing that I'm quite certain of.
Say it. Yep. I step around the wall to find Juliet at the other side of the room with her back to me. She stands near Cosette's portrait, one hand on the frame, the same as she placed it on my shoulder last night.
I'm sure you would have loved her too.
Aw. Both of us remain motionless, locked in place. Did I hear her right? Did I understand her right? A few seconds later, the song that was playing comes to an end, and the sound from the record player becomes a soft static as the needle scratches at the empty center. It breaks the spell that bound us. Juliet turns around slowly, gracefully. Her elegance feels like such a contrast to the way I stand there awkwardly, processing what I heard. She acknowledges me with a smile, but walks past me and goes to the record player. She carefully lifts the needle and turns the record over and lowers it again. Soon the sound of music fills the air once more. Now Juliet approaches me, one hand outstretched towards me.
Shall we dance?
Yo, we get the dancing scene.
I don't know how.
The foreshadowed dance scene that we talked about. I mean, obviously I haven't done this ending, but I was like, there has to be a dance scene. It's too much of a bait. They're putting a little worm out for us of foreshadowing. Even as I say that, I reach out for her as well, placing my hand in hers.
That's okay. It's quite simple.
Da-da-da. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. Waltz isn't too bad to get into for a dance.
I'll show you.
This time signature is meant for dancing. Juliet gently, oh my god. Juliet gently pulls me forward and I reach for her in just a few steps. Look at her blush, too. She holds our linked hands out to the side and wraps her arm around me. I just kind of stand there, letting her guide me. My heart feels like it's going to jump out of my chest, but I keep myself calm, focusing on the motions instead. We sway from side to side in time with the music, just turning a small circle in place. It's harder than I expect, and I stumble more than once as I try to mimic what she's doing. I've never been this close to Juliet for so long before, or to any other person. We start to move more as Juliet takes tiny steps around the room, and I do my best to keep up with her, although I'm always half a beat late. Once I step on her foot by accident, and I'm the one who winces.
Sorry.
It's okay.
She takes it in stride, not missing a step. The song ends and another starts, and we keep going. Little by little, I'm getting the hang of it, although I still feel clumsy. And little mistakes. Oh, and make mistakes. I just combined two lines there. But I'm able to get in the flow, stepping in time with Juliet instead of just after. Just inches away from my face, Juliet looks into my eyes, and I gulp nervously but stare back, trying to focus on both her and my feet.
I've been thinking quite a lot about what you said yesterday.
Oh yeah?
My voice is barely a whisper, a croak. I can tell that I'm blushing furiously. Being with her like this, I have a feeling I already know what she's going to say. But that doesn't stop my heart from racing. Juliet nods, her forehead almost bumping against mine.
And?
She leans in and kisses me. The music builds to a crescendo as Juliet's lips find mine. We both close our eyes. I surrender all thoughts and fears, aware of nothing but the feeling of our kiss and the gentle rhythm of our dance. They even hit that in the music if you just heard it. The forte legato section that we just went through. Juliet's fingers curled tightly around my hand as I squeeze back, not needing any words to communicate. With her other arm still around me, Juliet holds me close and tight, and I wrap my free arm around her too. We rock and sway, and as I trust my body to do the thinking for me, I find it easier to move in time with her. The two of us dance around the library as I let her lead and I follow, feeling warm and alive and complete. Even when we end our kiss, we stay like this, close together with our hands linked tightly. The blush on her face is still there, but I think it looks good on her. I rest my head on Juliet's shoulder, and she tilts hers against mine.
And I love you too.
Now bite her. As if she even needed to say it. Juliet and I talk and dance and kiss into the night until sleepiness manages to overwhelm my excitement and I have to go to bed. Even as my head hits the pillow, I'm looking forward to waking up tomorrow and seeing Juliet again. They're in the same building. They don't necessarily need to separate beds. When I do open my eyes a few hours later, that feeling of elation hasn't left me and gets me to bounce out of my bed and get ready in a hurry. You saw the scene, yes. Is that gonna be my new wallpaper? I mean, it's hard to say, because, like, clearly I like Aspen more than I like Juliet, but that was damn good. I think that was almost a better confession scene than with Aspen, if I had to rate it. But also it pays off. It pays off that dangling thread of a foreshadow that we've been thinking about. Yes, it really, like, it beat the shit out of us before it gave it to us. You know, Aspen's confession scene. You know, Josh Kaplan just, like, smashed us with a club over and over. Do I mean the bus station or what she had? No, I meant before she has to rush to meet her. The first bus station scene, not the second. The second one is, I think the second one's better because the stakes are higher. The stakes of this aren't as high. But the first time around, when Aspen made the confession, I think that the dance scene is a little bit better than that. But you're splitting hairs, you know? They're both really good in their own ways. And they both have their own brilliant ways of expressing their love for one another. That the writers clearly had a very strong vision of the characters when they decided on how both of them would react. So, like, it's hard. It's splitting hairs. Like I said, it's like Final Fantasy VII versus Final Fantasy X, you know? I brought the tier list earlier today. It's like that. They have a very strong, like, they have a very strong center of their characters. They know how their characters operate very well. And both confession scenes were incredibly powerful. Aspen didn't have the urgency until the second time. And the second time around, the stakes were so high that I think that really kicked up the emotional impact of it. With Juliet here, we have some high stakes, but I think it's pretty obvious that, like, the one thing that Juliet needs to say is Miho to tell her not to, essentially. Or tell her not to go. So the stakes are a little bit lower. But I think the confessions of the characters, this one's a better confession. Again, this is my take on it. And again, like, the scene was so good. The coordination with the music, which might have just been complete happenstance, that we go to the legato, like, forte section of the melody. That may have been complete happenstance that it lined up with that. And that it, like, the music really pushed along the emotion of that scene. Yeah. I think in both cases the slow burn is strong. And she has good reason to fall in love with either one of them. It's not like there's one that's more in character than the other. But I do like how Miho in this ending, she does sort of she grapples with it a little bit more. And what it means. And there's a completely different connotation to it almost as well. When by falling in love with Aspen, she's accepting mortality. She's accepting humanity a little bit more. By falling in love with Juliet, she is accepting the fabled culture more. She's finding someone like her with a similar condition, someone who will also stand vigil for eternity with her, and who is more of a caretaker for her. Whereas with Aspen, it almost feels the other way around, where Miho is keeping Aspen more in check. So, both of them have their own unique feelings and different meanings for the overall theme of the love story part of this plot, you know? It's interesting. It is really well done. Obviously, Juliet's ending, they just beat the shit out of you with sadness in this one. But that's also part of accepting Juliet. Because to accept Juliet, you have to accept the pain and the baggage and the grief that goes with her. You know? I stare at my own reflection in the mirror as I brush my teeth and wash my face. I don't look any different than usual, of course, but I half expected to. That was my long-winded, contrasting analysis of the two of them. My lips tingle with the memory of Juliet's against mine, and the tender look on her face. A look meant just for me. After I finish washing up, I hurry downstairs to breakfast, taking the stairs 2 at a time. I practically slide into the kitchen.
Good morning, Aspen.
It's not just Juliet sitting at a table, but Aspen too.
Good morning, Miho. To you.
God, I love
Hello,
Aspen.
Miho.
Although Juliet's greeting is pretty typical, there's a new warmth in her voice that makes me blush.
Morning. outside to breakfast anymore, Aspen.
I said I wouldn't be here as frequently, not that I wouldn't be here at all. Besides, it's a special occasion. It's not every day that your two best friends start dating.
Of course, she's gonna be super hype.
You already know?
Miho Pog. I wish that I could have Miho Pog as an emote, but it would be against Twitch terms of service to have a character screenshot as the emote. Oh shit, Aspen gets, like, you know, perfect snark. We already did the Aspen route the first time that I played, so I'm just going through a second time. So if I kind of move through certain bits quickly, it's because I've already seen them before. Yeah, I wish I could just snip this right here and use it as an emote, but that's TOS. It hasn't even been a full day. It hasn't even been more than a few hours.
I hope you don't mind. I spoke with Aspen yesterday, in fact.
Nah, I don't. She'd figure it out pretty fast anyway.
Actually, I was hoping I could talk with you as well, Miho. If that's alright.
I'm gonna take a little quick sippy if I'm gonna be running ads. I'll stall a little bit during the ads instead.
Oh, sure. What is it?
Mind if we go outside?
We go outside. Interesting. I glance at Juliet, who's standing up from the table. She gives us a friendly wave towards the door.
Go on. I haven't started cooking yet, so it'll be a little while before breakfast is ready.
Okay.
Yo, I have the same face as Miho right now, to be honest. I get up and head out of the front door with Aspen close beside me. The two of us stand beside each other on the porch, the early morning sun just starting to shine over the hills. Late nights and early mornings. Wait, is it? Late nights and early mornings. Just like... Okay, yeah, that's MCR. I've had plenty of both, but that's okay. I have things worth staying up for, and things worth waking up early for. Next to me, Aspen fidgets with her hair and hat while I wait for her to find her words. I seem to be doing that a lot lately, too. I have an idea what the topic might be, but not what she wants to say about it. This is the first time we've been alone together since she went home.
So, Miho, you probably remember, even if I don't, that I,
Oh, of course.
said some things to you last time we saw each other.
I think it's time for more pain.
Yeah.
How could I forget? I swallow a lump in my throat, trying to just listen to Aspen without getting ahead of myself.
Although the actual memory, well, memories are a blur to me. I wrote a lot of my feelings down in my journal over the past couple months, including that evening after I left. It's weird, I have to say, to see all that written in my own handwriting, but not to connect to it or feel it anymore. But I can tell how much I treasured the time I spent with you. I hope that doesn't sound rude. I know you were and are a very, very important person in my life. And I'm very grateful for all the time we've spent together, both before and after that.
It's so easy to detect the newfound distance in her tone.
You're still, or again, a dear friend of mine. Yesterday, Juliet told me about the two of you. She wanted to make sure I was okay with it before giving you an answer.
Okay.
I swear, she's selfless to a fault sometimes.
She really is.
Anyway, I told her that of course I don't mind. I'm perfectly happy with us remaining as just friends, and I couldn't be more excited for you. Both of you deserve all the joy in the world. I'd been trying to figure out how to talk to you about everything, and what I even wanted to say. so it was relief to have this reason to say it. I'm sorry for putting it off for so long.
It's okay. I wasn't sure how to bring it up either. I'm really glad though. I like being your friend and I don't want that to change, even if we had to start over.
It's very bittersweet. I hold out my arms and Aspen comes forward to give me a hug. It's different from hugging Juliet, of course, but it's still nice. I feel like if I was Aspen looking through my notebook, I feel like it would be torturous to me. Like, it's, yes, on the one hand, I am spared from pain if I had no memories of this thing that was supposed to give me pain, but also, like, it's such a... It would feel like such a lost opportunity, even if it was going to do that. It would feel like there was something very wrong, very missing, if I was in that situation. You could have both. I wish she could have both. That's the logical conclusion. I'm also relieved to hear how Aspen feels, but that she won't be hurt by seeing Juliet and me together. It's still painful to have lost all that time we shared, but at least we're both eager to rebuild it. Essentially well, yeah. And, you know, and I don't know a lot of people who have had significant memory loss, but I imagine that it would be processed pretty similarly to loss of, like, other more physical things, you know? Like, people, like, I know the feelings of people who've lost mobility, for example, and I would imagine that losing memories would feel similar to that in terms of something being missing and, you know, feeling incomplete or undone, you know. So I'm actually very surprised that Aspen is taking it as well as she is, but I can imagine there's a lot that Aspen isn't telling us. Aspen pats me on the back before she steps away.
Well, I certainly feel much better after saying all that. Come on, let's go join Juliet again.
But at least she's alleviating herself of guilt right now.
Right behind ya.
Back inside, there's a sizzling sound coming from the kitchen, as well as a delicious smell of cooking meat. Aspen and I enter to find Juliet frying bacon, as well as preparing the usual dishes.
That smells so good!
It should be ready before too much longer. Go ahead and sit down, and I'll bring it to you soon.
It is mortifying, and it's very well within character for Aspen to be bottling things up and not talking to people about it. It's like, you know, it's one of both of their flaws, really.
Okay.
But for different reasons. We hardly ever have meat, so this is a rare treat. I used to have it a lot more before moving to the library, even if I had to scrounge for it. I like meat. Aspen and I take our place at the table, and soon Juliet brings all the food she prepared and sets it down. While Aspen and I both load up our plates and dig in, Juliet just nibbles on some bread and sips her tea contentedly.
You know, it's not fair that you always make us such good food, even though you can't taste it.
That's right. We should give Juliet a great breakfast. Miho, turn your head to the side.
I don't mind. I'm perfectly satisfied seeing the two of you enjoy it.
Yeah, but you worked so hard. I guess there's no way around it though, huh?
Somebody bonk Ralph for me.
Oh, right. You mentioned that to me as well not long ago. So is all food the same to you?
I can still taste things, but just barely. And I can appreciate the textures of different dishes too. But yes, For the most part, it's like an afterthought to flavor.
So, like drinking a flavored sparkling water, then?
What's that sparkling water that comes in a can that, like, everybody over 50 drinks, but it has, like, no taste to it?
I've grown accustomed to it over the years, to the point where I can't
La
even
Croix,
remember
yeah.
what things used to taste like. Perhaps that's a blessing in disguise.
We make short work of everything Juliet cooked, not even leaving behind a crust of bread. After helping us clean up, Aspen departs for the Bell House, and Juliet and I are left alone at the kitchen table. I'm glad that we've gotten more comfortable with silence, because I'm not totally sure what I should be saying or doing now. As different things may be, we're still the same people. Even though I want to talk with and be with Juliet more, I haven't magically become more eloquent. It'd be nice if my magic did work like that, though. The best thing to do would probably be to just tell Juliet what I'm thinking. After all, it was being open about my feelings that got me to this point in the first place, so there's no reason to stop now.
Hey, so I have a question about something Aspen said.
Hmm?
She said that you and I are dating now. Is that true? I guess what I mean is, I love you, and you said you love me too, so now what? I know what dating is, but not how to do it, if that makes sense. You probably already know that, though. I just want to make sure I don't do anything wrong.
Juliet stands, offering me her hand. I accept, of course, and stand up as well. She takes my other hand in hers and faces me, almost like we're dancing again.
There is no wrong way. Dating, lovers, partners, they're all just words. I'm happy to use any of them, if they feel right to you. What matters to me isn't what we call it, but what we feel.
She just has such a soothing voice. How can I say no to her? She can call me whatever the fuck she wants.
And I feel that being around you reminds me what it's like to exist, and to celebrate being alive, and to find joy in everyday moments. That every second we spend together is more special because you're with me. When I say that I love you, I mean that I love you, Miho.
Juliet, just please talk into my ear for the next 2 hours, please.
Not just who you could be or who we could be, but who you are now. So please don't feel that you have to change for me, or behave a certain way.
Look at the blush on Mio's face.
Just being yourself is all that I can ask for.
X. Also, Juliet's blushing too. My face feels so hot you could fry a slice of bacon on it. It sounds like something Amber would say. I'm not embarrassed, but Juliet saying all those things about me is so wonderfully new and exciting that my body doesn't know how else to respond. I like hearing them though, and it helps put me at ease.
Okay, I can do that.
She's making me want to do some ASMR. Still keeping my hands in hers, Juliet leans forward and kisses me, making my lips tingle again. I'm pretty sure I could get used to this. Can it last? That question permeates everything for me. For the past couple days, it feels like we've danced around the tension. The unspoken question. Is what we have, whatever words we use to describe it, enough to make Juliet want to stay here? I shouldn't expect one night to make up her mind, and I'm sure she'll tell me when she's ready. If the answer is no, though, if I do get used to this and to being with Juliet, then will there ever be a time where I'm ready? Once again, I force those thoughts away. The nature of our relationship has changed, but my goals haven't. No matter what's coming in the future, I want to enjoy these moments with Juliet now, and hope that they'll be enough for her too. Where are we going, chat? We can go wherever the fuck we want. I'll, sort of readjust in my seat and take a little sip here while you'll answer me. There we go. I don't want my fucking ass to break in two. You wanna go to the park? Yeah, we can go to the park. The hentai park. Kids in the park are flying kites today. They've come in all different shapes and sizes, some with trailing ribbons, some in bird-like formation. All of them colorful and easy to spot, even as they drift higher and higher into the sky. Whenever I've seen kites before, I didn't understand the appeal of watching something pretend to fly. But I try to use my imagination a little and picture them like the kids do. Real flying creatures or machines. I guess a lot of toys are like this. Strange, pointless, fascinating little diversions. I can't help but be a little bit jealous. Maybe I'll make one for myself next time. The first guests of the day are the school kids from last Friday. They enter one at a time, not struggling with the door this time. The girl I talked to before, Cello, comes over to the desk.
Good morning, Ms. Miho.
Maybe I won't ASMR right now, not when I'm reading in the middle of this. You looked up her GA, she's part of the SAG. What's sagging about her?
Morning! How'd your project go? We're still working on it.
Some of us are. Some of us just want to wander around.
It's not wandering if you have a destination.
Oh, Screen Actors Guild, okay.
Around isn't a destination.
They remind me of Lena and Aspen. Cello sighs and rubs her face. She must have to put up with this a lot.
Well, that's why I wanted to come ask for Ms. Miho's advice again.
Again?
Yeah, have you met her before?
What? She helped us just a couple days ago.
Pippa and Armand look at each other, puzzled. Even with her back to me, I can tell Cello is too. She was also in Genshin and Ruby? Oh. These three are actually a cameo from one of the devs' first virtual novels. Okay. Not virtual novels, visual novels. What am I talking about here? You probably mean before Highway Blossoms? Because, I thought Highway Blossoms was their first. But, I recently did play Highway Blossoms. We're going to be playing the DLC after we finish the Juliet ending here. It even takes a moment for me to realize what's happened. I've gotten so used to my friends remembering me that I didn't even think of how weird it was for Cello to remember too. I'm sure we haven't seen each other since the last time I was here, but she hasn't forgotten me. I couldn't even begin to guess why, yet somehow, as strange as it is, it just feels like another part of a bigger mystery, instead of a life-changing event. Another question that I can't answer. I'd love to know why, but I could spend all day guessing and still not figure it out. I'm sure she wouldn't be able to tell me either. So weird as it is, there's no use in dwelling on it right now. When Cello turns back towards me with confusion on her face, I just shrug and smile.
It's fine. It's just a thing that happens.
The young mermaid doesn't look totally convinced, but she nods all the same.
Alright, if you say so. Actually, if it's fine with you, I had another question to ask. Ask away! Last time, you told me about your favorite place. Are there any other spots in Wellington that you like?
Right. She looks back at her friends, who are both distracted by some of the library decorations.
We're having trouble settling on a topic.
Before I can answer, Armin flaps his wings excitedly, blowing a couple nearby books open.
What if we did our project on this library?
There are libraries everywhere, even Amarina. What's so special about this one?
There are coffee shops in Amarina too, but you still wanted to go to one. Besides, just look around. This isn't a normal library.
It's run by a vampire.
Right, Miss Miho?
Shit. I just realized something. About something that I was writing. There's a vampire in the library. I ripped off Please Be Happy.
That's true, I guess.
I haven't been to many other libraries, but I'm pretty sure they don't usually double as houses like this. This one does for Juliet and me. Okay, to be fair, it's more like the stacks in a college than it is a library that the vampire is working in. But that's beside the flame.
Plus, we wouldn't have to walk around so much. What do you think, Cello?
I do like it here, but only if it's okay with you, Pippa. And with Miss Miho.
Oh yeah, Pippa rolls her eyes on the
As long as we get it done.
I forgot that my job here is to fucking read. All three of them turn to look at me, their expressions varying degrees of hopeful. How could I say no to that? Guys, I must be tired tonight. I try to think of how Juliet would respond.
It's okay. As long as you don't bother anyone or break anything.
Someone's about to put a silly sticky note on my stomach, I can feel it.
We won't!
You're already going to bother someone if you keep yelling like that.
Oops.
Thank you so much. We'll be extra super careful.
Extra super careful.
No prob.
Head empty, thank you. The three of them set off to explore the library, browsing the shelves and peeking into some of the display cases. Hey guys, now's your chance if you can get all of the sticky notes on me. I keep working on my daily tasks, but I keep an eye on the kids while I do. True to their word though, they're mostly quiet and not too rowdy, so they don't cause any problems. Sometimes I sit down at one of the tables to write, and then get up to look around some more. Alright, now slap a head pad on me when you're done there. Once you get the final one in, the sus one in. They've been here for a little over an hour when Juliet comes downstairs and joins me at the front desk. There you go, you got all 7 of the Infinity Stones on me at once. There you go. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. Jesus Christ. How many channel points do you have? You've been lurking way too much there. I hop out of my seat, pleasantly surprised.
Hey! I thought you were asleep. Not that I'm not glad to see you.
I should be, but I wasn't able to fall asleep. After tossing and turning for an hour, I thought I'd come and visit you instead. How's the library today?
Should I increase the sticky notes to 15 minutes?
Fine, same as always, pretty much. Those kids I told you about the other day are back. They asked if they could do their project on the library, and I said that was fine as long as they didn't cause any trouble.
I point to the table where the 3 students are sitting close together, talking quietly amongst themselves.
Oh, how lovely. I hope they're able to find what they're looking for here.
10-hour sticky notes. Oh.
Me too. Something really weird happened too. 2 of them, Armand and Pippa, forgot me like usual. But the mermaid Cello was able to remember my name from last time.
Really? That is quite strange. You haven't noticed or felt anything different?
Nope. I decided not to think about it too much. Otherwise, I'll just drive myself crazy.
A sound decision. Still, it's something worth keeping in mind.
Damn, Juliet is so pretty. I nod. Just then, Armin and Cello both stand up and start heading over to the desk, while Pippa stays at the table.
Ms. Miho? Oh, and...
My name is Juliet. You must be Cello and Armand, right?
Does everyone here know our names? Don't tell me we forgot her too.
Oh, no, nothing like that. I simply heard from Miho.
Juliet's the one who owns the library. I think I mentioned her last time. Oh, that's perfect. You see, we wanted to ask...
She blushes, looking a little embarrassed. Armin steps forward bravely.
Do you think you could show us around? I can tell this isn't an ordinary library, but I want to know more about it.
Sorry to ask for such a big favor, especially since you're already letting us work here.
It would be my pleasure. Miho?
Yeah, I don't mind. Juliet's a real expert, though. Really? Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
From across the library, Pippa loudly shushes Armin. This time, he doesn't acknowledge her.
Where should we begin?
Our project is supposed to be on a special place in Wellington, so whatever makes this library special.
We can begin with the books then. I've been collecting them for quite a while.
4 of us head to the shelves where Juliet points out a few older books.
These are several first-hand accounts of life here in New Zealand, or Wellington in particular. Some are written by the indigenous people, the Maori, while others are by people who came later. It's important to read history from a variety of sources, and I've done my best to offer just that.
I love learning about the past. I can even tell you about the future too sometimes.
It's rather insightful from a kid.
I quite agree. Every person from all walks of life have a perspective all their own. I've been privileged to learn so many of them.
What are these in the glass cases?
Gifts and treasures bequeathed to me over the years. I felt there's no sense in keeping them hidden away where only I can see them, so instead, I leave them here for all to witness and enjoy.
I gaze into some of the displays as we pass them by. I've been at the library for so long that I've stopped really noticing some of its features, like the treasures she mentioned. Statues, jewelry, dolls. There are all kinds of things that I'd forgotten about. Juliet recounts stories for some of them about sailors and merchants who gave her things in exchange for food or shelter, or just company. Both the kids and I listen with rapt attention, while Juliet gazes off into the distance as she remembers the past. We eventually reach the end of the shelves where Armin notices Cosette's painting on the wall. He runs over to it with Cello trailing behind.
Who's this?
My daughter, Cosette.
She's so pretty.
Juliet smiles thinly. I glance anxiously between her and the students, wondering if I should try to move us along, but Juliet clears her throat.
Cosette is actually the reason this library exists.
Really?
Even I look at Juliet in surprise. I don't think I've heard that before.
Yes. She also loved to collect books, to the point where we could hardly fit them all on our shelves.
Yeah, Cosette was her adoptive daughter, yes. Essentially adopted daughter. But Cosette lived to be like 80 or something, I believe. So it was a very long time ago.
She suggested that we allow others to borrow them too, in order to share the stories that we loved so much.
Whoa. If I had enough books to open my own library, I'd never have to go anywhere again. I could just stay home and read all day.
What about the theater, or museums, or school?
I'd still go to places for fun sometimes. But
Sometimes.
who needs school when you've got so many books?
They both laugh, and we move on to the back part of the library, away from the shelves. Juliet shows them the kitchen and dining room, as well as what it's like behind the front desk. But eventually we reach the bottom of the stairs.
What's up there? Can we go see?
That's where bedrooms are. And Juliet's office.
Oh. Can we go see?
Armand, that sounds like a private area.
There are some parts you can visit. I have a feeling you might enjoy seeing my study.
Really? Well, let's go!
Juliet leads the way and we all follow her into the study.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Yeah. Whoa. It's like a whole other library.
Just like I was, they're shocked by how many more books are crammed into here. Something rustles in the corner. Cello yelps with fear as she sees one of the bats hanging from the ceiling. It rubs its face with one wing, just like it woke, like we just woke it up, which we probably did.
What is... Ah!
Takes a moment for Armin to spot the bat as well.
Oops! I'm sorry, Orpheus. I should have seen if anyone was sleeping.
The bat flaps its wings in what seems like an indignant way, glaring at Juliet.
Wait, it has a name?
The bats are Juliet's friends. They sleep in here a lot of the time.
Armin, aren't you a bat?
Oh, I'm sorry for yelling.
Despite that, Cello keeps a good distance from the corner where Orpheus is.
It's quite alright. I'm sure he'll be back to sleep in no time. This is my study, where I keep a variety of records and other books that are less interesting to most patrons. However, I suspect you may find some of them useful for your project.
Oh, the lion yeah, okay, the lion statue with wings in Venice, yeah. Just like the it's like the caribou, whatever, the creature in Final Fantasy XIV is also based on that. The Sin Eater enemy in Final Fantasy XIV. Armand and Cello browse around, although they both shoot nervous glances at the bat every so often. Orpheus closes his eyes and either goes back to sleep, or at least pretends to.
You're right. Some of these look really old.
And handmade.
You're both correct. Many of these volumes were handwritten, or not widely distributed.
So not many people have read them, right? Oh, that would be perfect for our project.
I am not sure these are available to borrow like the others, Armand.
Oh, right.
His wings and tail both droop down. I feel like I know what Juliet's going to say before she says it.
Generally not. But if you promise to be very careful, I wouldn't mind letting you take a few with you. So long as you return them when you're done.
Really? Well, we can definitely do that, right, Cello?
Yes! As long as it's really okay.
It really is.
Thank you so much!
The two of them look around with even more enthusiasm, not to the point where they even get a bit closer to Orpheus. Or to the point where they even get a bit closer to Orpheus. Not too close, though. Juliet and I lean against the wall and watch.
Is this the first time you've let people borrow the books from in here?
Borrow?
The first time in a while, at least. I don't see a reason to deny them, though. It's nice to see how excited they are by the prospect.
That's true.
After a few minutes, Armin and Cello approach us with a small stack of books each.
Are these okay for us to take?
Juliet glances over them all before she nods.
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks again!
Come on, let's go show Pippa. Even she'll have to be impressed by these.
Waving goodbye to us, the kids hurry off downstairs, being careful not to drop or damage the books they're carrying. Juliet and I stay behind, near the hallway to Juliet's room.
That was fun. I learned a lot too.
I'm glad. It was nice to have a reason to indulge in those memories for a while.
You never told me you started the library because of Cosette.
I didn't? My. I suppose it never came up.
I lean against Juliet and she wraps her arm around me. I should get back to work soon, and I know Juliet still needs to sleep, but I'm glad to have this extra moment together. There's still plenty I don't know about Juliet, but I'm looking forward to learning it. Alright, where are we going, everybody? Where we want to go to here? Give you a second to answer. It'll be nice and quick, thankfully. These are always really nice and quick when you don't have any faces on them. Get some coffee? You want to go to the Bell End Cafe? Sure, let's go to the Bell End Cafe. I'm feeling a little lethargic, so maybe I'll have a warm tea and a long, peaceful sit. I can always count on the Bell House for its cozy atmosphere, after all. I buy my drink, find my favorite seat, and settle down. And then I watch a kid across the cafe knock his midnight double chocolate swirl drink on the ground and immediately start crying. We read this one. I think somehow, by random chance, we have crossed the streams into the Aspen playthrough earlier. So much for the atmosphere. I think I'll sit outside today. Or maybe they only have like so much B-roll. So like, you know, you can never figure out tracking the... Yeah. Maybe yeah, I don't know if they have so much B-roll and it's like the second time you're here it's gonna be this, the first time you're here it's gonna be this. Or if it's like specific days have different things. But the way you're talking about it sounds like specific days have specific events. Which means that, you know, by random chance we just got the same event that we did in the previous playthrough. After Juliet and I say our goodbyes for the night, I go up into my room to go to bed. But after tossing and turning for a while, I get up and put my shoes back on. Aside from Juliet, there's something else that I have been thinking about a lot lately. My last encounter with Silver didn't go so well, but it hasn't made me any less determined to talk to her. It's not just because of my magic and what she might be able to tell me about it. It's because I also want to help her. I know that I can't tell her that outright, but every passing day that I spend with Juliet or with Aspen makes me more confident in my decision to stay around Wellington. While I don't expect things to go exactly the same way for Silver as they did for me, I hope that maybe someday she'll want to change too. Since I'm still not ready to tell Juliet about Silver, I have to be extra quiet as I leave my room and go outside. I think there's a choice to be made here. And I think it's like you can follow her or you can not follow her. And the first time around I didn't follow her, so this time I'm going to follow her. Making my way to Mount Victoria doesn't take very long. Just like last time, I changed forms and searched for Silver's scent, locking on and following it through the forests. Eventually I find her in my two-legged form, sitting on a log with her back to me. For some reason I'm surprised. I just assumed she spent most of her time as a fox. Alright, I'll see you there. I'll see you, bud. Probably tomorrow. Although, I guess we're going to be playing FF10 tomorrow and you don't want FF10 spoilers. But, yeah, I'll be streaming tomorrow. So hopefully I'll see you at some point. I changed forms myself. Somehow, I don't think she's noticed me yet. I'm not sure if I could call out to get her attention or what. I don't think she'd like being surprised, but there probably isn't any chance she'd be excited to see me regardless. Taking a step, I have my decision made for me. The snap of a branch under my foot gives me away.
Damn it.
I will see Pi soon. Great. Thumbs up. Sure enough, Silver spins around, her eyes going from shock to annoyance when she sees me. She leaps to her feet in a fluid motion while I hold up my empty hands to show I'm not a threat.
Stupid dog. Learn to obey when you're given a command. I told you not to come back here.
Keep talking to me like that, Silver.
Oops. Guess I must not have heard that part.
I didn't bother to make a plan for how to convince her to talk to me. She has a tendency to mess up any plans I try. She snorts in derision and transforms as she turns back from me. In a flash, she's taken off. I change forms and run off after her. She's tricky, not just fast, she also darts back and forth, weaving around trees as she tries to get away. I don't let her, instead keeping her in my sights even though she manages to stay ahead. The forested area isn't very big, but she's backtracked so much that it feels huge. If we were in our other forms, I'm sure she'd be shouting taunts at me, or obscenities. Instead, it's gravely silent, other than the soft sound of her paws on the leaves and moss. Silver eventually gives up trying to confuse me and instead puts on a burst of speed, pulling farther and farther away from me. Why is she so determined to run away? And why am I so determined to catch her? The first part isn't tough to answer because running away is easy. I understand, because until recently, that was exactly what I would have done too. But the second part, that's harder to say. I push myself as well, trying to run faster like Silver. It's hard though, and my legs are already aching. I have to start relying on my ears and nose and not just eyes to track her. Suddenly, I see her again, not that far out of reach. When she spots me, I can see her try to dash again. Only this time, she doesn't seem to be able to pull it off either. That's when I notice her limp. It's subtle, enough that I can only tell when I'm closer up to her like this. But one of her black legs is definitely giving her trouble, and it's starting to slow her down. When it becomes clear I'm going to catch her, she abruptly halts, transforming back in a flash. I scramble to bring myself to a stop and then change too, almost collapsing backwards onto the ground. My lungs feel like they're on fire, but I stay on my feet. Silver doesn't move, her back still to me, even as I see her chest heave while she catches her breath. She clenches a fist, illuminated by the light from her bead.
Why? Why won't you leave me alone? I've told you to stay away. Aren't dogs supposed to be good at listening?
I ignore her. I couldn't give her an answer she'd accept anyway.
Why are you limping? Did you hurt your leg?
Silence. Not that I was expecting an answer myself. But then slowly her fingers uncurl.
No, someone else did. Why do you care?
For the first time, there's less of a sharp edge to her words. For once, it sounds like a genuine question.
Because you exist, I guess. I've never met another Gumiho, but I feel like I know you. At least a little bit. We probably have more in common than you think. Or admit.
Pathetic.
I don't know if she's talking about me or not. Finally, she looks up and glares at me, staring right into my eyes. I'm not sure how I want to come across to her. Friendly? Trustworthy? Brave? For whatever we do have in common, she's also a total mystery. Even at my most alone, I was never as wild as she is.
Fine then, I'll tell you. Listen well, dog. I won't repeat myself.
Folding her arms, Silver turns back on me and looks up at the stars.
The forest I called home belonged to man, as all forests do in their minds. Every day, to live was to be in fear of their cruel weapons that could tear you apart before you ever saw them. All creatures of the forest are prey to sate man's hunger for violence. I learned to run, for there was no other choice but death. To hide from their stinking horses and craven hounds. Survive. Yet, for all my running and for all my fear, one day, I too found myself fleeing for my life, slabbering beasts at my heels. There was a crack as one of their weapons rang out, finding its mark in my leg. Despite the pain, I kept running for as long as I could, before collapsing into the bush. I knew I was going to die, and there was nothing I could do about it. Nothing but quiver and dread. Useless and pathetic. I thought I would choke on the fear. Instead, as the first of the hunters arrived, sadistic pleasure in their eyes, the pain in my throat became something else. And that moment, it transformed me. I was more than a pitiful fox. I became something greater, something powerful. In a flash, the fear came for them instead. They screamed the same way we foxes do, in agony and terror. The pain I felt was nothing compared to the euphoria of strength. It served me greater than fear had. And it was not only my blood that nurtured the forest that day.
Oh, I need someone to fan myself after all this sadistic pleasure.
I knew that my wounds would heal in time, but that power would never leave me. They did, and it hasn't. Never again will I suffer a human to harm me, or anyone else.
Gonna bonk me? SMHing my head. Spinning back around, her eyes shine in the moonlight.
Never again. I told you before that we are nothing alike.
She's wrong. I can see myself reflected in her harsh gaze. I could have been her so easily.
Well, what is it, dog? Have you finally learned to hold your tongue?
Something about her finally clicks. Something in her words makes sense. The way she tells me so much even as she tells me to leave. The way she keeps asking for my thoughts. She desperately wants me to respond.
I'm sorry. All of that stuff that happened to you is terrible. I can see why you hate humans so much.
Her eyes widen, then instantly narrow.
Oh, has a thought dared to enter that empty head of yours?
Slap a head empty on me.
Yeah. I'd probably hate humans too if I'd gone through what you did. Even though I didn't, I still spent most of my life trying to avoid them.
Thank
and
you.
everyone else. Everyone but one person.
I pause, waiting for her to interrupt me, but she doesn't. That's a good sign, right?
I also got my leg hurt by humans back then. Back when I was a fox, I stepped on one of their traps and couldn't get out. I also thought I was gonna die. But instead, my person set me free. Even though they weren't my person yet. And they put a bandage on my leg and helped it get better. I'd probably still have a limp today if they hadn't.
Silver scoffs, but doesn't interject.
Until I came here and met Aspen and Juliet, I thought my person was the only one worth knowing, human or not. I didn't want them to talk to me either. But now, I'm glad they did.
I search her face, trying to get a glimpse of what she might be thinking or feeling, but her expression is as stony as ever. I could keep going, but I'm not sure if it would be a good idea or not. I'm probably already wearing on her patience. Okay, last time, I think I left it there? Gonna keep going. Maybe I kept going last time. I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter in the end. But whether I make a different choice on the first time or not. I left it as was last time. Okay. Since she still hasn't cut me off, I decided to keep talking. Who knows when I'll have another chance.
You could try that too, you know. I could even introduce you to my friends. I haven't told them about you yet. They don't have any idea you exist, but I'm sure they'd be just as nice to you as they were to me. Not all people are bad, humans or fabled. There are good ones too. Just like there are probably good and bad Gumiho.
Are you sure that I didn't hit this option? All I get in response is a cold stare. Well, it's not like I really expected her to say yes. At least I tried. When the way she fidgets, I can tell we're getting near the point where Silver is going to decide she's had enough and run away. Before she can do that, there's something I have to know.
Hey,
What?
I never asked before, but what's your name?
She sneers, looking glad to have a reason to be disdainful again.
I have no need for one. If I wished to be known by anyone, they wouldn't use a name.
Maybe if I left it there, I wouldn't convince her by the end of the story.
Yeah, I used to be like that too. It's how I ended up calling myself Miho.
How clever.
Which is why I've been calling you Silver in my head, so I'll just keep doing that.
Pick something else.
Huh?
Her response is immediate. I've been expecting a do as you wish or I don't care what a dog thinks of me, but I didn't expect her to have an opinion on my choice. Even Silver looks a bit surprised with herself, like she answered without thinking. She quickly forces back a stoic expression.
I mean, do as you wish.
If you tell me something else to call you, I will.
I don't care what a dog thinks of me.
Nose in the air, she turns away from me and transforms, bounding off into the shadows like always. This time, I don't try to follow her. She always has to make a show of how little she cares. It took me until tonight to understand that that means she cares a lot. For as detached and disinterested as she tries to appear, there are still weaknesses in her armor. Once again, I didn't really learn much about myself or my magic from that visit with Silver, but still, I don't think it was a waste of time. No, I don't think I left it there last time. But I'd be happy either way. Yeah, I'm happy with her being the cute tsundere by the end, no matter what happens. At breakfast the next morning, I'm still thinking about Silver and her story, and about how much it has in common with mine. I only half listen as Juliet and Aspen talk about a book they've been reading. Instead, it's nice to just watch them enjoy being around each other. It's so easy to miss when you're not looking for it. Of course, you can still miss out on other things. It takes me a moment to realize that Aspen is trying to get my attention.
Miho! Miho!
SMHing my head, I bring my attention back.
To Miho! Anyone home?
There is now. Just stepped out for a minute, you know.
Yeah, don't worry about it too much. I'm happy with the answer that I gave, and if I don't get anything new out of it, that's fine too, because I like the ending that I got with her previously.
Believe me, I know. I was just asking if something had happened to your bead. It looks brighter again.
It does?
Oh man, that'd be embarrassing if Aspen noticed a change before I did. I tugged my necklace away from me so I can see it. Sure enough, the glow is stronger than before. Still not as strong as Silver's, though.
I swear it wasn't like that when I went to sleep.
Maybe it changed overnight. Like your body, perhaps it needs time to process. Actually, I believe I learned something useful in that regard. I was able to get in touch with one of the curators from the exhibition you saw at Topapa. I mentioned the painting of a Gumio and asked if he knew anything about them. And he told me a very interesting myth. It says that not only is Gumio's bead the source of her magic, but it also requires more magic to sustain itself. Most Fable take their magic from the underworld's source. But for those who don't come from the underworld, such as Miho,
it has to come from somewhere else.
What if Juliet and Miho go to the underworld together?
Right.
We're all quiet for a moment as we all come to what I'm sure is the same conclusion.
The memories.
Yes, I believe so. Every time someone forgets about you, I believe your bead retains that memory as a sort of power. There was a second part to the myth as well. Once it's accumulated enough, the Gumio can take that magic and make it her own, becoming something even more than a Gumio.
Something more? In what way?
A Chunho.
What kind of hoe you becoming? Both of them look at me.
Pardon?
Chanta. I know the word, but not how to know it. As if Juliet's explanation unlocked a forgotten memory of my own.
That's what I'd be. If I swallow the bean when it was ready. Tunnel. A sky fox.
I don't know what it means, but I know it's the next step in my existence. More than a Gumio.
If you swallowed it, I suppose that makes sense, but it hardly sounds pleasant.
Yeah, it sounds like a real tough pill to swallow.
It isn't.
Removing my necklace, I inspect the bead yet again. The glow must be related to what Juliet was saying, that it's getting closer to being ready. I don't know the rest of me is, though.
But why now? I don't think that many people have forgotten me recently, but it started changing so fast.
It's magic. Even as a boring old human, I can tell you that magic never works how you think it should.
Not just magic, but also myth. Myths tend to have some roots in truth, but are incomplete or warped by retelling. Trust your eyes and your heart, not just what Aspen and I find.
Right. Besides, who knows how much farther it has to go? It could keep getting brighter and brighter for a long time.
Another 7 hours, I'd guess.
I've seen... I'll see if it looks any different this time next week.
I was about to mention Silver, but I managed to catch myself. I want to tell Aspen and Juliet about her, but not yet. Not until I know her better myself. Not until I can convince her to meet them. And it could take even longer for Silver to change than my bead. Although, now that I think about it, what does the brightness of hers mean? That her bead has soared even more magic than mine? Something about that doesn't feel right. It can't just be about an amount. There has to be something more. I wonder if even she knows what it is. There's one more big question, too. One more big what if.
If I do that, would it mean people stop forgetting about me? If my bead isn't there to steal the memories?
That would be very nice if so.
Indeed. I couldn't say, but I share Aspen's feelings, as I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, I do.
I lock the necklace back around my neck. The more I learn about my powers, the more conflicted I feel. I know Aspen and Juliet mean well, but it's just not something they can understand. Even though Juliet has magic of her own, it's entirely different than mine. The conversation changes to recent events at the library and Bell House, and none of us mention anything else about magic or Gumio for the rest of the morning. Whatever is going to happen with my bead, I have to figure it out for myself. Oh, we got a Mr. Kim. It's been almost a week since the last time I went to the waterfront, so I decided to head down and visit Mr. Kim. It's been even longer since I've actually done any fishing, so this might be a good time to change that. When I get to the waterfront, there are plenty of other people out there fishing, unlike the last couple times. However, it doesn't look like Mr. Kim is one of them. His assistant, Young Min, is there, helping out like always, but Mr. Kim himself is nowhere to be seen. When I go ask Young Min, he tells me that Mr. Kim went to the marketplace, and that he should have been back by now. I volunteer to go see if I can track him down. I've only ever seen the market from a distance, but up close it's a lot more lively than I gave it credit for. The noisy fishermen that I always hear from far away laugh and shout with each other, displaying their catches on beds of ice. There are other vendors and stalls selling snacks and drinks, as well as things like jewelry and souvenirs. I walk around, searching for Mr. Kim, and finally find him near the edge of the pier. He's looking intently at a number of fishing poles for sale, one hand stroking his chin.
Hello, mijo! Fancy seeing you here.
Youngmin told me where you were. I was surprised you weren't at the fishing spot.
Oopsie, I might be taking a little longer than I said I would.
I was worried
but I
about
just can't
him.
decide.
I was worried something happened to Mr. Kim. I go over and inspect the fishing poles too. Most of them are fancier than the ones I've used, with extra pieces and parts. I don't really know what any of them do, though.
Are you getting a new rod?
If I can settle on one, yes. I've narrowed it down to this one.
He points at one of the complicated, fancy-looking poles.
And this one.
The other is a simpler, sleeker design.
What's the difference?
The first one here has everything you could ever want. It's made for comfort and for power. The other one I'm looking at is more basic, as you can see.
Comfort and power.
That sounds pretty easy. Why wouldn't you get the nicer one?
I guess there's just something about a simple, traditional design that appeals to an old geezer like me.
Old geezer.
It's hard to say no to the luxury of the other one, but...
He frowns, still thinking deeply.
Sounds like you've already decided then.
Oh?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you want the basic one, even though the other one is nicer.
Slowly, he nods.
You might just be right. I'll take this one.
The person running the booth packages up the rod and hands it to Mr. Kim once he's finished paying. Then the two of us start heading back to the fishing spot.
You know, you picked a good time to show up.
Why's that?
I'll show you once the lessons are over.
That turns out to be shortly after we get there. Mr. Kim goes to apologize to Youngmin after taking so long, and I watch some of the other people fishing while we wait, since all the spare rods are taken. Once almost everyone else leaves at the end of the hour, Mr. Kim beckons me over.
How's the new rod?
Works like a dream so far. It's the old one I wanted to talk to you about, though.
Are you gonna give her your rod? Mr. Kim holds his old fishing pole in one hand, examining it with a small smile. I can see a wistful look in his eyes, like he's recalling old memories. Then he holds it out to me.
Here, I want you to have it.
Yo, Miho's getting like a legendary fisher weapon right now.
Me? Why?
Better it go to someone who'll use it than just sit around collecting dust in the garage. Besides, you're going to need something reliable if you're gonna have a chance with the king!
The king. I carefully take the rod, holding it gently like it could fall apart. It's got nicks and grooves on it, and the grip is worn down to places. Signs of how loved and appreciated it was. We all love ourselves a good loved rod, you know?
Are you sure?
Of course I'm sure, as long as you promise to give it a good home.
I do. Thanks.
You're welcome. Now, let's make sure we catch the king.
Jesus
this time,
Christ. Scared me with that one. Standing at the edge, I cast out my line to get a feel for the rod. Even though it's been well used, it's more comfortable and handles better than the ones I usually borrow. I managed to land a couple fish, although I let them all go. When it's finally time for me to go home, I carry the fishing pole carefully, making sure Mr. Kim's trust in me wasn't misplaced. Alright, I'm gonna take a quick BRB here. Since I've been live for 2.5 hours. Where are we at here? There we are. I can't believe my OBS is still... It's still like in focus of the internet pain, but the internet pain is hidden right now. Alright. I'm gonna take a quick BRB, and when we're back, I'm going to continue on with all this for like another hour, I think. So I told you it was going to be a short stream today because I started late. Anyway, I'll be back in a moment. Alright, wait, Gucci. Got a biscuit here. And I got a little extra water. Just so I don't die. Although it is a pretty dry biscuit, to be fair. I hope you're all enjoying Plappy Bappy Happy quite a bit. I know it's always a lovely time getting to play this game. Alright, one more bite. Idly, I reach up and remove my necklace, letting it dangle from my palm. My bead stands out from the other regular ones. Oh, my bead stands out from the other regular ones in the chain, since it's still glowing ever so slightly. You're glad you got the week off on Juliet? Well, that's awesome. I think I'll be playing it today and Tuesday. I think I'll probably finish Tuesday, if I had to guess. Usually you have to be up for 6 a.m. I stream late. I know. I want to starting stream earlier, but I will still probably end stream at 2 a.m. every night. But yeah, I do stream pretty late for a lot of people. I'd like to fix that in the near future, but right now, I'm just keeping my schedule consistent, as I've been, you know, I've had basically the same schedule for the last 2 months, so I've just been trying to be consistent with it. Oh, thank you for the stretch. But yeah, we'll be doing this. If we finish it Tuesday, I'll be moving on to the Highway Blossoms DLC. If we don't finish Tuesday, then I think Friday is when I set it. Let me go check my my schedule on Twitter here, because I drop my schedule into Twitter each week. Alright, yeah. Please be happy. Tuesday. And then Friday we'll finish it up if I haven't already finished it by then. And if I have finished it, then we're gonna be doing the Highway Blossoms DLC. And then Saturday, I'm probably gonna do something wacky and out of left field on Saturday, and I'll pull it that day. But yeah, we'll be starting up the Highway Blossoms DLC then, and I do have a couple more Studio Elon VNs that I want to get through, but I think the next visual novel that we'll do after the DLC for Highway Blossoms is Katawa Shoujo. At least that's my thought so far. Alright. It's a part of me, not something separate that came to me. It came from within me, and while I've never questioned that, never thought about what it might mean, it has to mean something. Would I even exist without it? Probably not like I am now. I would have died as a regular fox many, many years ago. Curling my fingers around my bead, I can feel my heartbeat. It pulses in the bead too. I close my eyes and try to clear my thoughts of everything except for the feelings of the tiny orb in my hand. I focus on it, letting myself feel it the same way I'd feel a pillow against my head or grass beneath my feet. Oh, and I should clarify that my normal start time is 9 p.m. Eastern, not 10:30 like it was today. It's just I had to push back stream today. Slowly, pictures come to mind. Visions of the sky and sea, the forests. Visions of people passing by, although their faces are just a blur. No, not visions. Memories. My memories and experiences live on this bead somehow, the same way they live on in my heart and mind. It's been changed and strengthened as a result of what I've been through, the same as any muscle. Magic courses through me, and as basic as my breath and blood. I know, then and there, that I can't get rid of it. Even if there's a way, I don't want it. Like any other part of my body, I have to learn to live with it and nurture it. I don't want to be forgotten, but I don't want to lose this part of myself either. I can feel it. It's needy, like Chad. Neither of us are ready yet. Still craving that I can't identify. What is it that I'm missing? What do I still need to give it? There are other things too that make it even more confusing, like how cello could Was it something special about her? Or has something about me changed? Time and again, these past few months, I found that answers I've known all along rest inside me. Feelings that I thought I was capable of come naturally. Incapable of come naturally. Why would this be any different? It's a puzzle, but puzzles have solutions. I don't know what the answer is, and I barely even know the question. But I can feel that something about myself is going to change soon. How and when, I don't know. It's just an instinct. Same as so many other things. Uncurling my fingers, the pulsing of my heart gets less noticeable. I open my eyes to see my bead looking just the same. I'd been half hoping that it would be different already, but it's not that easy. I put my necklace back on and climb into bed. Need some water for a second, burying myself beneath my blanket. Even under the covers, in the dark, the light of my bead shines through faintly like a nightlight. I'm gonna blame the biscuit that I'm eating for being dry. That's clearly the issue. Just like a couple days ago, some of the first patrons who arrive at the library on Friday morning are Cello and her friends. This time, it's Pippa who holds the door for the other two, who enter with their arms full of books.
Hey, you guys! Good morning, Ms. Miho.
They stopped by for a bit yesterday as well, so all three of them should remember who I am. All three of them come to my desk, where Cello and Armin carefully set down the stacks they're carrying. Juliet, who hasn't gone to bed yet, emerges from the shelves where she was putting away some books and approaches us as well.
Miss Juliet! We brought back all the stuff that we borrowed.
Thank you. I can see you took great care of them. Were you able to complete your project?
We did. Pippa and I took lots of notes, and Armand stayed up all night writing a script. We decided to put together a play about the history of Wellington, using the library as the main location.
You see this down here? This is the first time that Armin's ever been, like, this far to the right in frame. And so you can see the lion tail. Right there. Right next to my hand. I'm like reaching over to grab his little lion tail.
Armand and I will be the actors, and Pippa's going to make the decorations.
I said we should do an art project, but our mom didn't want to.
You just didn't want to have to read.
The two of them glare at each other, and Cello rolls her eyes at both of them. I feel a little bad for her, even though I know they're all friends when it counts.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm glad you were able to find something interesting.
Yeah, there was so much to read, I almost forgot to sleep. I wish we could stay longer.
That's like me on Twitch. There's so many people I want to watch, I forget to sleep.
If we ever come back, could we borrow some more books?
Well, more than it's that, I try to be like really conscientious when I raid somebody to like make sure that I stay a little bit and, you know, show them appreciation too. And then I end up staying for like an hour and a half and it's like 3:30 a.m.
Of course. Books are for reading, after all.
Armin flaps his wings in excitement, like he's already planning a return trip.
I miss my own bed. I'm glad we're going home soon. No offense.
I miss home as well, but I'll miss it here too.
You'll just have to come visit again sometime, like Armand said.
I'd like that very much. I'm a little nervous about participating in a play, but maybe it won't be so bad.
Acting's
Oh,
easy.
so
You've just gotta have fun with it.
last time they did a diorama, and now they're doing a play.
Right.
Have you done much acting before, Armand?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I like watching people perform in plays, though.
Flips his
But
hair
this
to the
is my
side.
first time writing one.
I enjoy it as well. I've had the good fortune to know several playwrights myself, and now I know one more.
Armin blushes at the praise. I've never seen a plane myself, but I basically know what they are. It's like watching TV IRL.
If our teacher records it, maybe
Why did
we
I
can
say
send it to
IRL
you and
instead of
Miss
in real
Miho to
life?
watch.
I'm not so sure about that idea.
Aw, why not? You're gonna do great. We can rehearse on the way home to get some extra practice.
How are you going to rehearse when you're sitting on an airship? You won't have a stage or any props.
So other people call them airships too. I thought that was just something... I thought that was just a quirk of Miho.
We could still go over the lines.
Okay. Let's figure that part out later.
Cutting off the argument before it happens, Cello faces Juliet and me again.
Unfortunately, we do have to leave because our class is going to the Skyport soon. But before we go, I had another question for you, Ms. Miho.
Sure. What is it?
Well, would it be okay if I wrote you a letter sometime?
Aww.
A letter? About what?
Just about life in Amarina. And you can tell me about life here. I thought maybe we could be pen pals. If you don't want to, though, that's alright.
I've had a few pen pals. Oh yeah, they mean airplane, I think. But I guess everybody says airship. I've had a couple pen pals. I'll tell you about them some other time.
Oh, I'd like to. I've never had a pen pal before.
I have some Norwegian money in here somewhere. I'm not exactly sure what it is either.
Neither have I. But I want to hear more about Wellington and how it's still changing today.
She really loved metal.
That sounds like fun. Let's do it.
Thank you. I already can't wait.
Oh, maybe you could get extra credit too.
We'd better not need it after we do this play.
We won't.
She is very precious. Slowly, the five of us move back outside to the front of the library, with Armin and Juliet chatting about the books that he read. Soon, it's time for them to head off.
Thanks again, Miss Miho and Miss Juliet, for showing us the library and letting us borrow stuff.
You know, Armin is basically the Emmett Selk of Lion Boys.
Yeah, thanks.
It was our pleasure, I'm sure. Right, Miho?
Yeah. I hope you guys get a good grade.
Me too.
It's sad to think that Pippa and Armin will have forgotten me by the time they get back home. I'm glad that they had a good time though, and it was nice to be able to help out a little bit. Even if it was mostly Juliet who helped them.
I appreciate it too. I'll be sure to tell you all about how it goes when I send you that letter.
Sounds good. Bye, you guys.
Goodbye.
All three of them wave as they make their way down the hill, and Juliet and I wave back for as long as we can. Once they're out of sight, we go back inside.
I wonder if Cello will be able to remember me long enough to write a letter.
Oh, and on the topic of other Studio Elon games, so the two ones that I have lined up soon are National Park Girls and Heart of the Woods. I have them ready to go.
I hope so. It was nice of you to agree to be her pen pal.
She reminded me a lot of myself. She's new to Amarina too, and still getting used to living there.
In that case, I'm sure she'll appreciate having you to give her advice.
I don't know if I can be very helpful there.
Sometimes, when it comes to young people, just having someone to listen and be interested can be enough.
Hey, old people too.
I can do that at least.
I know you can. You're always capable of more than you think.
I hope you're right.
Such an uplifting girlfriend. After gathering up the books the kids brought back, Juliet and I kiss each other goodnight as she goes upstairs, and I get ready for my normal day at the library. At some point, I hear the sound of an airship passing overhead and wonder if it has Cello and the others on board. Whether or not I do get a letter from her, I'm glad that they all had a good time. I hope Cello can start to feel more at home in Amarina soon. One of the most valuable lessons that I've learned from living at the library is that it's important to feel like you belong somewhere. Where are we going, everybody? We can go wherever the fuck we want. Except for the den. And home. Can't go home. Take a bite of biscuit. You wanna go to Cuba Street? Sure thing. I decide to take a peaceful stroll past the shops, but the hair on the back of my neck starts to prickle as I go. Someone's watching me. I stop and whip my head around, scanning for anything unusual, but nothing immediately stands out to me. Then I see it, a scrappy young fabled who immediately ducks their head behind a sketchbook once they realize I've spotted them. Although they're hiding, I can see that they're still holding onto a pen. Are they drawing me? At first I scowl at the thought of a stranger looking at me enough to capture my likeness. I don't exactly love being the center of attention. But for some reason, I find myself sitting on a nearby bench, pulling out a candy bar I acquired earlier and nibbling leisurely at it. I cross legs in a way that I hope looks artistic. I sneak another quick look, and the sketchbook person is definitely drawing me. After a few minutes, I finish my snack and get up to leave. The artist doesn't follow me, so I guess they're done. Or maybe they memorized what I look like enough to work off the mere memory. It's a strange thought. I wonder what their image of me looks like, but I'm not about to ask. Is this the art book? For anyone who has the art book, I know Justerfly has the art book. I feel like this is something like a little thing that they would put into the art book as like a as an Easter egg. Weird. On Saturday morning, I wake up around my usual time, but linger in bed for a while. I can hear the distant sounds of Aspen and Juliet having an animated conversation. Aspen laughs, then Juliet laughs. I don't know what they're laughing at, but I smile too. I just like hearing my girlfriend laugh after all, no matter what kinds of troubles are weighing on our minds. If she's able to laugh despite everything, then that's a win in my book. Aside for a couple of hasty meals, it's been a while since the two of them have really gotten to spend much time together. Sometimes it's easy to forget that they've known each other longer than they've known me. Outside, it's shaping up to be another beautiful day. There are clouds, but none of them are rain clouds. The trees and grass sway in a gentle breeze beyond my window. I've had more beautiful days here than I can count. Even Wellington weather at its worst isn't so bad from indoors. I open my window, enjoying the morning air as I freshen myself up too. Making my way silently to the kitchen, I pause just out of sight and listen.
I've given it lots of thought.
I have, but I still can't decide. Regina really wants me to take it, of course, but...
Oh, this is a really cute Miho right here. Oh my god. I can't believe they drew something just for this.
But there are good and bad parts of both.
Exactly. I feel like... I'm not sure who to compare it to.
No need to compare. I understand what you mean.
For a little while longer, I stay where I am, unseen. Not because I want to eavesdrop or spy on Aspen and Juliet, but because I don't want to interrupt them. I just want to let them talk. Oh, it's altered from a scrap jealousy subplot. Interesting. I understand why they would remove the jealousy subplot. Honestly, I don't think I'd like it if there was a jealousy subplot. Because they're such good friends. It's like... I can understand why they might feel jealous, but... It seems like they have a mature enough relationship that they wouldn't be at each other's throats if they did get jealous. They'd probably admit it and be like, I'm jealous, but I don't want this to hurt our relationship. I just want you to know that it's hurting me, kind of thing. You know? It wouldn't make sense if they were, if there was a significant conflict between them. Yeah. There's a lot of other romance stories that do jealousy plots, and it's rarely ever good. In this case, it makes sense with their healthy relationship that they would have a strong enough communication with each other after all we've been through. You know, considering the scene we had, the botanical garden and shit. I feel like they'd have enough communication to tell one another, hey, I'm feeling this way, but I don't want this to ruin our friendship. And honestly, you know, it's hard to argue with somebody when they say something like, I'm jealous, but I don't want this to ruin it, you know? It's hard to do anything but empathize with them. Hearing Aspen express some of her worries and hearing Juliet offer her words of encouragement reminds me of some of my earliest days here. Both of them changed their lives around... Oh my god, I can't read. Both of them changed their lives around to include me, which is something I'll always be grateful for. Still, I should give them a chance to spend some time with just each other. Not because I feel unwelcome, but because that hasn't really happened since I arrived. Eventually, there's a moment of silence followed by the sound of a cup being set on the table. I choose this time to make my entrance.
Ah, there you are.
Good morning, Miho.
Good morning!
I go into the kitchen and grab a piece of toast and an apple, but I don't sit down. I'm just chewing my biscuit.
Sleep well.
Sure did. Now that I'm up, though, I think I'm gonna go for a walk.
This early? Well, it was quite nice on my way up here.
Yeah, I used to go for morning walks all the time, but it's been a while.
You couldn't have picked a better day, it seems. Enjoy yourself then, Miho.
I will. See
Best.
you when I'm back.
Best wingman, as she doesn't even have wings. For good measure, I wrap a couple more slices of toast in a paper towel and put them in one of my deep pockets, along with another apple and some packs of jam. I wave goodbye before I leave, and then I head back to my room to get dressed before stepping outside towards the road. Munching on my breakfast as I walk, I hum a song to myself that I heard on TV. I go in the direction of the ocean, same as usual. My days of aimless wandering really have decreased. I actually have places to go now, and people to see. A day without any plans is a luxury. I fucking agree. I wonder how Jongin chose where to go on their travels. What first brought them to my forest all those years ago? Was it on a whim? Or was there something in particular they were searching for? If there was, I hope they found it. Is this the scroll scene coming up? I think it is. I would have loved to ask. Would have loved to tell them about Aspen and Juliet. More than anything, though, I wish I could have thanked them. Our time together was short, even by human standards, but it still meant everything to me. I take myself to Mount Victoria and start the familiar climb, but before I get to the top, I stop. It's only been a couple days since I last came here and saw Silver. Trying to visit her again so soon might be pushing my luck, but then again, so is trying to visit her at all. The lukewarm toast and apple in my pocket aren't much, but if she lives anything like I did, she'd still appreciate them, even if she doesn't say it. Instead of transforming, I stay on 2 feet, heading in the same direction I went last time. I'm not too concerned about finding her. If she wants to be found, she will be. Keeping my eyes and ears peeled, I watch for a glint of silver fur, the sound of a snapping branch. When I finally spot her, it's purely by accident. Once again, she's in her human form rather than a fox. With her back to me, she kneels at the edge of a passive patch of grass, attention focused on something I can't see. She doesn't move as I approach, although I'm sure she knows I'm there.
Be careful.
I halt, still a few feet away. At least she didn't call me a dog.
What is it?
I approach delicately, scanning the ground before every step. Finally, I arrive behind her and look down to find my answer. Oh, it's the bird! A bird about the size of my hand lies on its side in the grass. It's alive, but clearly injured.
What happened to it?
This one was blown from its perch in the tree. For whatever reason, it was too weak to fly. Now, its leg is broken. It won't be long until it dies.
Looking down, I can see that Silver's right about its injury. It struggles to flap its wings, but it can't even push itself into a standing position.
Poor thing.
I kneel down beside Silver.
You were trying to help it, right?
She
It is
scoffs.
beyond help. Such is nature's way. I simply thought to put it out of its misery.
You didn't, though.
Silence. Before doing anything else, I reach into my pocket and pull out the food I brought with me, holding it out towards Silver.
Here. I brought you this.
Didn't we I thought that Silver was gonna eat this thing. She's a fox after all. But I was surprised at what comes next. She looks at it, but doesn't make any move to accept.
What is this? Poison?
Oh,
It's an
poisson.
apple
It's
and
fish.
some toast. It's not poisoned. I ate some myself. Ooh, and this.
I have to take all the way to the bottom to find the little pack.
Grape jelly.
Silver stares incredulously, like I'm trying to give her, well, poison or something. I set the food down by her knees and turn my attention back to the bird.
Let's get you some help, Birdie.
I cup my fingers together and reach for the bird, which finally gets a reaction from Silver. It's kind of sadder to think that she said, like, good night to the birdies, eat well, birdies. And now the birdie's gonna die.
What are you doing?
Her voice is sharp like a knife.
I'm going to take this guy back home.
I may not know what to do, but I'm sure Aspen or Juliet will. It's better than just leaving it out here to die.
Why? It's weak. Even were it to survive today, it's only a matter of time before something else claims its life.
So what? I'm sure that time still matters to it. Both of us can relate, right?
As gently as I can, I slide my hands around the struggling bird and scoop up the poor little thing. Its beady eyes look around frantically, and I can feel its tiny heart pounding in its tiny chest. I start heading back towards the library as fast as I can. Before I get very far, there's a noise from behind me, and I look back to see Silver following me. An empty paper towel dangles from her hand. Smiling to myself, I keep walking. When I step from the woods back onto the path, I expect Silver to have disappeared. Instead, she takes a few cautious steps out, looking left and right as if a car might come barreling down from the mountain. Avoiding my eyes, she walks past me and keeps going, like she was planning to do this anyway. There's a single art book of collected works from her Patreon, okay. We reach the base of Mount Victoria. She's a few meters ahead of me, and I clear my throat loudly to get her attention.
It's this way.
She stops after me, annoyed at Wellington for its geography or something. Her clothes, which are clearly meant to help her sneak around at night, stand out like a sore thumb in the morning sun. They also must be hot as hell. If either of those things bother her, she doesn't let herself show it. I curl my fingers to shade the bird as much as I can. It seems to have calmed a little, but that's probably more from exhaustion than anything. When we reach the library, Silver trails far behind. I wait at the entrance, not sure if she's coming or not. I don't ask. She'll do what she wants either way. After a moment, she walks up the hill and joins me. I simply nod in acknowledgement before I push open the door with my shoulder, Silver behind me like a shadow. Within seconds, Aspen pops her head out from the dining room.
Ah, Miho, we were just...
Choking in surprise, Aspen's eyes go wide as a saucer as she notices my companion. She disappears from sight, and I can only imagine what she's saying to Juliet right now. Behind me, Silver looks around in curious awe, although she stops when she notices me watching. I jerk my head towards the dining room and head in. I don't remember. Yeah, I do remember her making that noise. But she sounds like she's being choked, not like she's like cutting in her tracks. Both Aspen and Juliet are there waiting, trying to appear casual. But by the way they're both silently staring at the entrance, I'm sure it's just an act.
This is Silver.
She nods at the ground and says nothing, displaying none of her usual venom or drama. It feels as if she's hiding behind me, which is something I wouldn't have expected her pride to allow.
It's quite nice to meet you, Silver.
Charmed.
Charmed. None of them know what to say. I can't blame them. Fortunately, there's something more important to talk about.
We came back here because we need some help. Or at least this guy does.
I uncurl my fingers and tilt my hands for Aspen and Juliet to see. I doubt either of them even noticed I was carrying something. They both lean in to see.
What's this?
Bird starts to struggle again, probably because of how many more people are suddenly staring at him.
Ah! His leg! I'll be right back.
She's getting a frying pan, don't worry about it. Peering at the little bird, it doesn't take Juliet more than a second to see what's wrong. She hurriedly departs for the stairs, moving right past Silver without a glance. Silver lurches to the side to get out of her way all the same. Aspen grabs one of the dish rags and folds it up to make a small square, then sets that on the table.
Here, why don't you put him down on this? I read that it's best to put him in a box or somewhere enclosed, but this will do for now.
I gently lower the bird onto the makeshift cushion. Its eyes still dart around, but it doesn't struggle as much. I sigh with relief at being able to unfold my hands, shaking and stretching them out before washing them several times. Juliet returns soon with her phone in one hand and a small cardboard box in the other. Using a kitchen knife, she cuts a few holes in the sides of the box and puts it aside.
Miho,
Will
will you help me move him?
The allergies, or the allergens that are coming off that bird's wings are gonna make me sneeze. She takes 2 corners of the rag and I grab the other 2, and we carefully lift over the box and then set it down inside.
Do you think it'll be okay?
I keep my voice at a whisper. Even though the bird can't understand our words, I still don't want to hear.
I hope so. If not for you, it certainly wouldn't have a chance. I've contacted someone who will be able to provide better assistance than we can. She should be here shortly.
Is it a vet?
No, a contact at the nature preserve. She's rescued quite a few unfortunate creatures like our friend here.
I've never heard of a nature preserve before. What's that?
They're preservatives that you put in your food so that they stay longer and don't spoil.
It's a conservation area on the north side of town. They have a bunch of protected land where they rehabilitate injured animals or ones that can't survive in the wild. I used to go there on class trips sometimes. One time we had a sleepover there, and I saw a kiwi.
So, she smiles fondly as she recalls the memory.
Whoa. I didn't know a place like that existed.
It's far from the only one. There are dozens more in New Zealand alone, of all different sizes.
Looking at the box on the table, I can't help but feel a little bad for our friend. He's probably never going to see his home on Mount Victoria again, and he doesn't even get a say in it. But where he's going doesn't sound half bad. Like Juliet said, he probably wouldn't even have survived if he'd been left on his own. If not for me and for...
Silver?
I only now realize that she's gone.
Oh, I didn't even notice her leave.
She's like that.
I go out into the hallway, looking up the stairs and around the room for her. The front door is open, but only a crack. Something's keeping it from closing. Walking over, I spot something on the floor jammed between the door and the wall. It's a gnawed core of an apple, wrapped in a breadcrumb-covered paper towel. Laughing, I pick it up and throw it in the trash, letting the door shut behind me. Didn't last time I accidentally say breadcrumb instead of breadcrumb? I distinctly remember me tripping over my words at this point. In the dining room, Aspen and Juliet are both seated again. It's far past Juliet's bedtime, but she looks as awake and alert as I've ever seen her. I sit down too, waiting for the question that I know is coming. It doesn't take Aspen more than 2 seconds.
So, who exactly was that? Obviously she was a Fumiho, but...
I take a deep breath and try to think of where to begin.
It's a long story.
You know that's my favorite kind.
Oh. Nodding, I finally settle on where to start.
She used to be a fox, just like me.
Great story. Telling Aspen and Juliet about Silver and answering all their questions takes a long time. I tell them just about everything, starting with back when we first met right after I went to the museum. I leave out the parts about Silver's history, though. Instead, I talk about the time I've spent with her myself and the things I've learned from her. Eventually, Aspen goes home and Juliet goes to bed, and I spend the rest of the day watching TV and lazing around. I close my eyes at one point, just intending to take a good nap. When I open them, I see I've slept until nightfall once again. I don't mind too much. At least Juliet will be up by now. I was about to say that. You can go on a date now. As I make my way toward Juliet's room, I notice the sound of a conversation coming from inside her office. Freezing with my hand almost on the handle, I listen.
You were right all along.
I know. I know all too well.
Oh, that's a voice we've never heard before. There's the sound of a chair scraping across the wooden floor.
You always did have to learn things the hard way.
A few moments later, I hear the sound of flapping the leathery wings from behind the door, and papers being scattered. The flapping sound quickly grows distant and then disappears entirely. I let out a silent breath as I hear Juliet's footsteps, and papers being picked up, and then Juliet sitting down in her chair once more.
You can come in now, Miho.
I really have lost my touch when it comes to sneaking. Instead of Stealth 100, it goes to Stealth 1. I open the door as invited to see Juliet's study looking the same as ever. The open window and blowing curtains are the only indicators of her guests that just left. I lower myself into the empty chair as Juliet strikes a match, relighting the lamp that had blown out.
How much did you hear?
Just the very end. I was coming to see you. I didn't know you already had company. Sorry for listening in.
It's all right. I don't feel the need to keep anything secret from you. The only reason I haven't introduced you to Ezekiel is for his sake. He isn't fond of meeting people.
It's
Same.
okay. I know how that feels. What did you mean, though? About him being right?
Juliet laughs, closing her eyes.
Where to begin?
She stands up and closes the window, peering out into the night a moment before she sits back down.
I told you that Ezekiel was the one who helped me gain my footing in the human world, yes? Well, there's a bit more to it than that. He was the one who turned me into a vampire in the first place.
That was the first guess that I had, was that was her sire.
I have a story not too dissimilar from your own with Zhong Ying, though it began in a very different way.
Adjusting my seat so I'm next to Juliet, I lean forward and take her hand. Leaning against me, she idly runs her thumb across mine as she stares into the flickering candle, recalling days long past.
I was a human once, of course. Long, long ago. In those times, we didn't know about the underworld, or anything that lay beyond the edges of our sky. Few denizens of the underworld traveled to the overworld back then. Those who did were feared and reviled, but also disbelieved in. Truth turned to hearsay, hearsay turned to legend, and legend turned to fable. Stories told to impart some moral or lesson, not to be believed. That's where today's term fabled was first born. As a human, my life was painful and dull, and cursed by circumstance. I lived, believing and hoping for a better tomorrow that never came. There came a time when I had enough. Enough of agony, of poverty, disappointment. I took myself to the dry edge of the world, beyond which lay nothing but the unknown, and I threw myself off.
The Juliet ending, man. Josh Kaplan never stops. I gasped, unable to stop myself, even though I know if she turns out okay.
As I fell, I had plenty of time to contemplate the stupidity of my decision, and to dread the fate that was rushing to meet me. How solvable all my problems seemed as I fell away from them. What should have been the end was only more pain. Somehow I survived, but just barely. Broken. As I opened my eyes for what should have been the last time, I saw trees and a purple sky that I thought must be heaven. Then, a figure appeared, and I was certain that I was in hell. Ezekiel offered me a choice. Breathe my last, or accept his gift and live on. From there, the world I had plummeted from, the world that contained all my pain and sorrow, was a minuscule dot, nearly imperceptible above me. That we are having this conversation is proof of what choice I made. In time, my body healed, though not fully.
Juliet taps her cane against the ground to demonstrate.
I had gifts and powers beyond my wildest dreams. I felt I had cheated both life and death. And yet, decades passed. Even the novelty of those gifts eventually wore off.
I just want to check something real quick. Okay.
There was a secret, though. A truth I had yet to learn. In the underworld, magic flows freely like air, imbuing those connected to it with power that lasts for generations. Yet being that close to so much magic at all times takes a slow toll even on the bodies of the fabled. We age down there, like humans, but at a much slower rate. But for those who live their entire lives in the underworld, no matter how long they may be, there eventually comes an end. Immortality was a lie.
That's what I thought about with Ezekiel making the offer to Juliet, is that he wants... I didn't know about that, but it felt like not only running away, but also like maybe Ezekiel felt it was time for him to pass on the torch. You know, like in Final Fantasy XIV, Return to the Star kind of thing. And that Juliet may have felt something similar to that.
Not so in the world above, though. So distant from magic and its source, those effects aren't felt, and so immortality was truly attainable. Decades later, when it came time for war, I remained disinterested and unconcerned by its effects. When it came time for peace, I was equally indifferent. For a time, Ezekiel himself had tired of the hedonistic lives our kind led, and departed for the overworld nearly as soon as the dust had settled, determined to maintain a quiet and hermetic existence.
So it's interesting that in the underworld, the vampires are hedonistic, but in the overworld, they're just straight up struggling then. Like the vampires in Mauritania.
He returned to the underworld occasionally, with stories of how things had changed and were changing. Eventually, curiosity got the better of me. I agreed to return to the overworld, just to see. We rode and lived upwards together. A journey that took days back then. And he told me of the island where he had settled down and found peace. He gave me only one piece of advice.
Maybe the One Piece?
Which I brushed off as obvious and unnecessary. to not concern myself with the lives and affairs of mortals. We arrived near what would someday become Wellington, and soon went our separate ways again. I had intended to only make a short visit, to sate my curiosity. To my surprise, I discovered a world that had moved past much of the violence and suffering that I so hated, and a world that had come to welcome the fabled. I extended my short visit over and over, finding myself unable to leave. Gradually, Ezekiel's advice all but faded from my mind.
Finally, Juliet trails off. I sat with rapt attention the entire time she spoke, and only relaxed my muscles when I noticed how stiffly I've been sitting. Juliet doesn't have to finish her story because I can say the last line for her.
Until you met Cosette.
Slowly, she nods. We both sit there quietly, our hands locked together as we contemplate what she just shared. It's hard for me to picture Juliet as anything other than how she is today. Warm, patient, kind. I can't imagine her as someone who would have once been feared and reviled. Yet I can understand the pain, if only to a tiny extent. I can understand what some of those years must have felt like. For all my time alive, I've changed the most in the past few months by far. But for Juliet, her life has been nothing but change. Both the world she has come from and the world she exists in now. I also can't help but think of what she said regarding immortality.
So, the fact that you're thinking about going back to the underworld, a place where you get older, does that mean that you want to...
Juliet brings her other hand up to enclose mine, pressing tightly.
Not for a long, long time. But I can't deny that around every corner, behind every door, looks a painful memory of days gone by.
You know, every vampire story or every story about someone with immortality, immortality is as much a curse as it is a boon. And doubtless, if you live that long, at some point you're gonna make a choice for yourself that, like, it's about time, you know. But I don't see Juliet as someone who's ready for that.
I had never loved anyone before Cosette. Not in so deeply a way as to use that word. But there were still friends whose company I enjoyed, and time that was spent laughing and smiling. They're all gone now, but I'm not. I see their ghost everywhere. But those memories are all that I have left. I'm afraid to forget, just as I'm afraid to remember.
Now you're getting kind of John Trail on me. The flame dances on the candlewick, throwing a crazy shadow onto the wall. It'll burn itself out again soon. I know I should say something, but I feel paralyzed. Everything I could say feels inadequate. In the face of everything she told me, do I even have the right to want her to stay? If going back to the underworld is the only way for her to escape the pain, then shouldn't I want her to go? My brain tells me yes, my heart tells me no. My heart tells me I want her to find a different way. But is that wrong of me?
Mia?
The sound of her voice breaks my reverie. As she moves her hands from mine, I can see a sparkling uncertainty in her eyes.
I have something very selfish to ask of you.
What is it?
If I do go, would you come with me?
What?
Juliet speaks quickly, like she's embarrassed or nervous.
As a fabled, you would be safe in the underworld, unlike a human. But because your magic doesn't come from the same source, you would still be immune to time's flow. I still can't decide. I feel terrible asking you this, and yet I know I would feel more terrible not to.
And also, if she gives up her immortality, then they can age together.
Don't Don't answer me now. Please, take time to think about it.
All I can manage to do is nod dumbly. At least her second request is an easy one. Thinking about it is all I'll be able to do.
Thank you.
Right now, though, I want to do anything but think. Standing up, I reach for Juliet and pull her into a hug and a wordless kiss. We finally do pull apart. I lean my forehead against her, and she rests herself against me.
I love you.
It's all I can think of to say.
I love you too. Thank you.
2 weeks later. The Juliet ending just never stops, man. Yeah, everything about the Juliet ending is so rough. But I have faith. The next couple of weeks go by in relative normalcy. I wake up, go to work, spend what time I can with Juliet. Aspen comes by occasionally, but for the most part is busy by herself. Neither Juliet nor I talk about that evening in her study, or her invitation. We don't have to. It's practically the only thing on my mind. When I walk down Cuba Street or climb up Mount Victoria, I have to ask myself if I'm ready to leave it all behind. I want to be with Juliet. That part's easy to decide. Even if we've only been lovers for a few weeks, I've spent enough time with her to know that I want to stay with her. I know that I can't promise her forever. But right now, there's nothing I want more. Still, there's a lot I'd have to give up. Aspen and my other friends, as well as the first home I ever had. The memories may be painful for Juliet, but for me, they're almost nothing but good. I always thought I was the kind of person who could move at the drop of a hat without worrying about leaving anything behind. Now I realize that's because I never had anything to lose before. The candlelight from Juliet's trusty lamp flickers as we sit quietly in the dark. There's the occasional noise of her pen scratching or of Juliet typing something on the computer, but it's otherwise silent. I sit with a book open in my lap. It's simple enough for me to read, but I've been on the same page for ages. Pictures of the underworld, with photos and drawings, take up most of the space. Captions go along with them, describing what some places are. An enchanted forest, a town where it never stops raining, a castle that can walk like a person. They all sound and look interesting, but I can't really make myself feel excited about the idea of seeing them. Not the way things are now. The sound of Juliet closing her laptop catches my attention, and I look over to see her rubbing her eyes.
Done already?
For now. I have only this one request to work on, so I can take my time with it.
You look like you could use a nap.
Do I? I think I'm alright. The night's still young, after all. Perhaps a spot of tea would be nice, though.
Juliet reaches for her teapot, but frowns when she picks it up.
Ugh, I'm out. I have to fetch some more from downstairs.
I can get it for you. I could use a snack anyway.
That would be nice. Thank you, Miho.
Sure.
Really, it's just an excuse for me to put the book away. I hop up and go downstairs, leaving Juliet in her study. Despite the time that's passed since we talked about going to the underworld together, I don't feel any closer to deciding what I want to do. My relationship with Juliet only makes me more confused. Sometimes things between us don't feel much different than before we started dating. That has its ups and downs to me. I like that I don't feel pressured to act differently. But I also like all the new things, like kissing her, holding my hand, holding her hand. Juliet seems to enjoy these things too. But I wish I wasn't the one starting them all the time. Neither of us are the type of person to be really lovey-dovey like I've seen on TV, but that's fine. I know she means it when she says she loves me, and that's enough. Besides, both of us are still new to this, and I'd rather it be that way than feel like I need to catch up to her somehow. In the kitchen, I start boiling a pot of water while I make myself a sandwich. Juliet keeps tea leaves in the kitchen in her office, so the only thing she needs me to bring is the water. I munch on my snack while I wait, until steam starts to rise from the kettle whistles. Aspen got an electric kettle for Juliet that's much faster, but I know Juliet prefers her tea from a regular old pot. Once it's ready, I grab the kettle and carefully take it back upstairs with me.
Here you... Oh.
With a pen still in her hand, Juliet is slouched across an open book on her desk, fast asleep. As quietly as I can, I set the teapot down somewhere safe and tiptoe towards her. I was only downstairs for a few minutes, so she must have fallen asleep right after I left. I'm used to her going to bed right after we spend time together, but this is still early in her usual waking hours. Lately, though, I've been hearing the sounds of her being awake at all sorts of different times, whether we're hanging out or not. I guess it must be catching up to her. After moving the lamp a bit further away just to be safe, I grab a blanket from nearby and drape it across Juliet's shoulders. She doesn't react, but I can see it rise and fall with her steady breathing. There's something that feels odd about seeing Juliet asleep, and it takes me a moment to realize what it is. I'm not used to seeing her look so relaxed. With her eyes closed and a sloppy posture, she doesn't look guarded or elegant or any of the other words that I would usually describe her. Instead, she just looks like anyone else when they're asleep. Somehow, it's nice to see. I wish she could be this open when she's awake sometimes, too. I gently take the pen from her and set it aside, doing my best to keep the blanket from sliding off her. Then I lean forward and blow the candle out.
Good night.
I whisper into the darkness before tiptoeing out of the room, spending the last of my time before bed by myself. Okay. Seeing the time, that's probably a good place to end for today. I thought the Juliet ending was going to get less painful. It's still pretty painful. Day 14. You stole that number from Yoshi P. It's still pretty painful. But I have a feeling that it's going to resolve in a satisfying way. Despite how much pain Josh Kaplan is putting me through right now. He is the writer of Please Be Happy, right? That's what I wanted to check real quick. The writer of Please Be Happy, because he wrote Highway Blossoms. But I'm pretty sure... Oh, I think Adarosa was one of them. I think so too. There is a visual novel database. Here we go. Yeah, she did the art. Let's see. Well, yes, I know what the publishers are. Thank you very much. Original... Okay. Adarosa, Josh Kaplan, and Loveland Dial are the three people credited with writing. I'm still gonna blame Josh Kaplan. But yeah, I think that's probably a good place to stop for today. Let me see who we can raid here. Is there anybody in Please Be Happy right now? Okay, no, there's nobody. Like always, I'm the only person playing this game. That's okay, let me check a couple others. Maybe Highway Blossoms? No, I started typing hi into the oh my god. I started typing hi into the users, and that didn't give me what I wanted. Highway Blossom. Ooh, there is somebody playing Highway Blossoms. Alright. I'm gonna send you guys over to Lily Blue, who is, looks like she's playing, Highway Blossoms. Towards the end, it looks like. Alright. So, thank you all for stopping by today. Tomorrow, we'll be back with Final Fantasy X. We're very close to the end. We'll just be finishing up a couple things like Anima and Badge's Sisters. And then we'll be cruising straight towards the end. Tuesday, we'll be back with more Please Be Happy. So, thank you all for joining me today, and I hope you have a lovely time in Lily's stream. And I'll see you all later. Night, everybody.